Hello, everybody. Welcome to Popcast on the Rocks, episode 177. We're a podcast that talks about pop culture things that interest us. And sometimes there's whiskey. My name is John, and I'm joined as always by Andrea. How's it going?
Good, good. If you see a little like white dusting on my shoulders, it is flour from cookie making that happened tonight.
Oh,
I headed out to see the grandparents, brought my 3-year-old. We made cookies. Flour was everywhere. Honestly, you probably could have had some Hollywood filmmakers in there and gotten some white powder shots for some sort of, blow
yeah.
extra kind of scene because it was ridiculous. So, just want to say it up front, get ahead of any rumors. The
Okay.
white
Well,
powder is
yeah, that's
flour.
fun.
I made Christmas cookies.
I look forward to being able to do that as well. Was it a reasonable combination of fun and stressful?
Yes, it was very reasonable. Everett
Okay.
had a great time. She did not always understand exactly what we were doing or like,
Right.
how the process was to like roll out the cookie dough and, you know, cut the cookies, but she had a ball just like cookie cuttering shapes everywhere and just, going ham, smashing cutters into dough at
Okay.
wildly inappropriate places and, had no concept of like, okay, we have this much cookie dough, maybe let's use these shapes fill it out. It was just like,
Mhm.
I'm just gonna smash wherever. So,
Nice.
yeah, she had a ball, and we made cookies, whatever, who cares what they look like.
Yeah, right. No, be good stuff. I'm glad you're getting in the Christmas spirit.
Yes,
The holiday is upon us, so
indeed,
only a few
indeed.
days. We did a little bit of shopping recently and
Same.
gift wrapping and all that sort of thing. So
Mhm.
yeah, no cookies
Yes.
this year yet.
Yeah, we just realized that we didn't really have any Christmas wrapping paper, which tells you, where we're at in the whole, like, Christmas gifting process. So I had to run out and get some and get, our wrapping paper and then Santa's wrapping paper so that it would be
Right.
different because
Yeah.
Everett can
So
tell. So I didn't know if she would know, but she's at the age where it's like, if she asks, like, maybe I could just have different wrapping paper and, like, it's not that big a deal to have, like, 1 extra roll of
yeah,
wrapping paper.
we were just talking about that today, or just mentioned it's like, oh yeah, pretty soon we'll have to have different kinds. Do
Mhm.
you do you know anyone that is opposed to the uh perpetuation of the Santa mythology?
Oh, no. Not at this point. No.
Okay. Because I know some people, you know them as well, actually. So you do know someone, you just haven't talked to them about it.
Okay.
Um, that that's
This is
opposed
a
to the
post-show,
idea.
like, extras conversation.
It's just like, hey, you're lying to your kid. They don't, they're gonna
Oh,
develop seeds of mistrust and all that sort of thing. And I'm like,
funny.
this is what I came down to. I said, look, with your adult brain and that logic, yes. But I
Sure.
can tell you that I know 0 people that have broken trust. They won't believe their parents. It's just done because they lied about Santa.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
to break that sort of, your children are your children. They're with you a lot. You're really important to their development. If, um, if you continually habitually break trust and promises over a wide range of things, yes, that's how of course, you're gonna develop
Yes.
those sort of things. But, any of those, I understand the logic. It just doesn't bear fruit. It doesn't work that way.
Well,
No kid is like holding a grudge. And once you get a little bit older, you can understand like, oh yeah, the
yes.
magic I had then, I understand what they were doing.
Yes. So here's the two ways I think about it. One is, for a lot of other things, you know, setting Santa aside, kids aren't logical. They don't have logical brains, and they're not going to have them for quite a while. Do you know what I mean? They don't
Yeah,
think linearly like we do, like X plus Y equals Z. They don't get
yeah,
there. That's not their brain. So, especially for right now, I don't feel like I have to worry about that sort of logic because they don't have it yet. We're building it. We'll get there.
yeah,
And I feel like as a parent, you sort of have a sense of when they're there or they're on a precipice that you could reevaluate.
yeah,
As a 3-year-old right now, I absolutely am aware that Everett does not have that kind of logic, that she would
yeah.
understand what we were talking about. Also, the other day, I don't know why, but Everett flat out was like, "Daddy, are you Santa?" And, she was just, like, asking questions, and
Sure,
Chris
yeah.
goes, "Well, Santa is Santa." And she goes, "Yeah, okay." You know what I mean? So, like,
Yeah,
she really wasn't putting it together.
yeah,
She just as, like, a kid was just, like, saying some things, like, asking some questions, and when her dad said Santa was Santa, she was like, "Yeah, I accept that." Now, if she had, like, gone further, like, maybe we could have had, like, some sort of eye signal as, like, Santa is a idea, Santa is kindness, Santa is, giving thoughtful gifts to the ones you love. we could have gauged a situation, but,
Right.
when you go Santa is Santa and your 3-year-old goes, "Yeah, sure,
Mhm.
roll with it."
Yep.
That's where her brain understood, and she was cool with it.
Yep.
So, yeah,
Yeah, no,
we're definitely not in that space of, like, having a conversation about, when we say or when we start to maybe ease into, Santa as a concept, but we'll get there someday. It just doesn't have to be right
right.
now.
Basically, Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's like, um, what is it? From a certain point of view, yeah. It's
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
um, yeah. What I we won't do is, as they get a little older, like, really try to keep the wool over their eyes. Like,
Yes.
we're gonna make noise on the roof and, like, prolong, like, eating the cookies that are set out to, like, that
Yes.
stuff can you kinda get a little lazier with I'm worried about my handwriting from the different gifts or whatever.
Yeah.
Just casual, as they get older,
Right.
I need to try to, like, really hoodwink them, and so they're 13, it's like, "Ha! I got you for so long." Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's
But
not like a trick. Santa isn't a
yeah,
trick.
yeah.
Um, I I would never do this. Like, I won't do it now, and I won't do it later, and I won't do it at any point in time, but I've been really enjoying I've been seeing a lot of, like, TikTok and Reels lately that are people who, like, flower dust outline boot prints from, like, a front
Mm.
door or, like, a chimney to under the Christmas tree, like it's Santa's boot prints in the snow, and he's coming in and leaving presents. Like, I love seeing other people do that. I will not do that. That's like me watching people's videos of Elf on the Shelf. I will never do that. That is not my level. I have accepted it. It's fine. But I love you other people for doing it. Thank you for, like, sharing your magic. Someday you're not gonna be able to do that anymore, and if that's your jam right
Yeah,
now and your kids are into it, great. Like, I hope you know when the line is to stop and not, like you said, not to be like,
yeah,
"Gotcha." It's not
yeah,
like, jackass, you're not punking your kid,
yeah, right.
but there's, like, a certain level of excitement and Christmas magic that, like, if your kids are super into it and that truly brings them joy, do it.
Yeah,
Like, who cares?
yeah.
So, yeah,
Okay, just
that's
so I
where we're
get another parent's perspective here. So,
at.
okay, well, we won't
That's
just be
gonna be one
talking
of our
about
shorts
Christmas
this week.
today. Yeah,
My very,
right.
animated discussion of, like, where my Santa levels are for Christmas.
Mhm. Yeah, I need to get back to making shorts, that's for sure. Okay, so today's episode is gonna be about Dune. If you read the title, you can see that Dune
Mhm,
Prophecy. We covered previously the first 2 episodes. Now we're doing 3 through 5. And that will leave just 1 episode left, which will be
mhm,
airing tonight.
mhm,
Probably is in the process of airing right now, whatever. So, yeah,
mhm,
we'll get into that after a little bit. There will be spoilers, so I hope you're keeping up with us on Doom Prophecy.
mhm,
Before that, I want to just set the room here and say, make sure you like, share, subscribe, all those sorts of things, and all the places. We're on podcast services. My boxing coach recently listened to our Penguin stuff. 'Cause he liked that show, so like
Alright.
the discussion there. So
Excellent.
if you're liking anything, give things a thumbs up, give us comments, let us know you're there, all that sort of thing. And yeah, we'll talk about our weeks as well before we get to Dune, and then really we'll kick things off with our drink holidays as we
Mhm.
approach the holidays.
The Christmas holidays, yes. We've just got a couple. There some of them are abstract, some of them are a little more real. Starting with the abstract, obviously, yearly, one of my favorite holidays, December 6th. It was National Bartender Day. Thank a bartender. They provide a service. I provided a service back in the day when I did it. And, sometimes it's really fun, you know. Tom Cruise and cocktail level's kinda fun, and sometimes it ain't. Sometimes you
Yeah.
gotta cut people off and, yeah, they don't wanna be cut off. So it can get kind
Mm.
of, tense. So, yes, National National Bartender Day, 12/6. Um, Celebrate, thank a bartender if you have a favorite one. My favorite one is me.
Yeah. I never lived, like, close enough to, some sort of establishment to make it like a cheers situation. Like, I know my
Sure,
bartender.
sure,
I never that's one thing, there's a couple elements like that about living in the city that I never really was in the right community for or whatever.
sure, sure.
So, not that that would
Yeah,
necessarily have improved my life, but just like one of those things, "Oh, I'm gonna come here every week," and
yep.
order the same thing and make it a habit.
Yeah, I feel like, I've probably told this story before, but, I did have one guy when I worked, regularly at the, sushi restaurant that I bartended at that came in every Monday and ordered, his same 2 sushi rolls, ordered a Maker's Mark Manhattan, and that was his jam, that was his ritual every Monday,
Yep.
and, it was just kinda nice seeing him there. It was, like, comforting, familiar, like, he's
Yeah.
back. It's the kind of situation where, some people have posted on social media that, like, "Oh, if I didn't go to my, restaurant at, X time every week, they'd be like, 'What happened to you?' Or they'd, you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
call the police and be like, 'Check on these people.'" It was that kind of situation, where I knew this guy and, if he had not shown up a couple Mondays in a row, would have been, like, kinda concerned, "What
Yeah.
happened here?" So, yeah, I mean, there's definitely different levels of, like, you don't have to, like, be intimate friends with your bartender and stuff like that, but also, like, you kinda have a couple people who are regulars, and it's kinda nice to just be like, "Hey," you know, very comforting ritual. You have yours, mine is, like, making your drink for you every Monday and just, like, knowing when you're gonna show up, so
Yeah.
sometimes it's
We were
it's the
listening
familiarity.
we are listening to a sort of podcast, I guess, about, anxiety and depression. It's a multi-part thing, but it was sort of addressing, like, what if you're a person that has gotten yourself so far dug into a hole of, like, not feeling any self-worth and you're really depressed, and how you don't have any connections or whatever. Like, what are some of the steps that a person does? And one of the recommendations was go to a local establishment, reasonable bar, restaurant, whatever, and do that. Be there once a week. Be there once a week. You know, Introduce yourself to the waiter, wait staff, bartender, whoever, and just now someone knows you and you sort of know them, and like, just becomes a pattern, regular thing. It's just one
Mhm.
step into society and
Yeah,
being around people if you're
yeah,
isolated. So,
yeah.
yeah.
And it's such a nice, like, midway step too, because you have interaction, but, normally, your serving staff, be they waiter or bartender or both, aren't going to push it,
Yeah.
It's not like, I don't know, I feel like sometimes, going to, like, a salon and having a hairdresser, it can be very nice because there's, like, kind of a level of conversation that's expected that's a little bit more, and sometimes for people that can be pressure, to say something all the time while you're getting styled and cut and, have this whole
Sure.
45-minute conversation, whereas, like, with wait staff and bartending staff, it's sort of, like, in the middle, so you can
Yeah.
ease up there.
They're going to come to you as they're needed,
Yes,
and then
but
go
they're not
away. And
constantly
so,
present. Exactly.
yes. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I like that. That's good
Mm.
advice. So,
Mm.
yeah. So
All
anyway,
right. Well, if you're lonely
December
on the
6th.
holidays, go out to
Yeah.
a place, make it your habits, say hello, and yeah.
Meet your friendly local bartender.
Yeah.
I enjoyed meeting some people. So, yeah, go out and do it. Otherwise, other holidays are more, alcohol specific focused this month. On December 10th, we had National Lager Day. On December 14th, it was National Screwdriver Day. Just recently, a couple days ago, 12/20, National Sangria Day. And then just yesterday, National Coquito Day.
Nice.
So, very specific drink focused, which is what I have decided to celebrate, which is I've made a nice winter sangria.
Okay.
We have orange
Nice.
and cranberry, and yeah, that's how I feel.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like I'm getting to know your drink patterns, the the kind of things you'd
Oh dear,
best
you're
like.
already
Yeah.
so inside my head, John.
Yeah. No, very good. I am not, I'm gonna just say I'm celebrating bartender day by, trying to
It's a wide
um
application.
be a bartender and
Fancy
making my drinks or
glass, I
whatever.
like it. What do you got in there?
Yeah, so I went with another cocktail from my Gotham City cocktails book. So I've been
Okay.
making pretty good progress, a couple because I shared that one with you the other week. Should have been on
Yes.
the show, but it wasn't. So um but this one now, I thought it was fitting in some sense to our show discussion tonight. So it's
Okay.
called the Lazarus. So
Oh,
if you're familiar
yes.
with the Lazarus at all. So
Yes.
here's the description. According to whispered rumors passed along among bartenders and waitstaff throughout Gotham City, the Lazarus pits are mysterious chemical pools that Ra's al Ghul is said to have used to regenerate himself over the centuries. For mortals looking for revival, this cocktail is a safer bet. Tart citrus balances the liqueur in an invigorating bitterness. This drink is guaranteed to bring you back to life after a big night. Um,
What's in there
so
that can
yeah,
revive you
it's
so?
it's absinthe, but just rinsing your glass with absinthe, like typical of a cocktail, including absinthe.
Okay.
Then gin, Cointreau, vermouth, dry vermouth, and lemon juice.
Okay.
That's not two vermouths. I was just clarifying. That's
Yeah,
dry
yeah.
vermouth. Yeah. Um, yeah. So I haven't tried it yet, but if you've watched Doom Prophecy, I think you'll make the connection here. Some sort of
Indeed.
death, rebirth type of things here going on.
Indeed. How is, the Lazarus?
Mm.
Is it reviving you?
Yeah,
Is it
actually, because
reinvigorating you to celebrate the holidays?
it's good. I will give this one high marks. It's
Okay.
nice and tart, refreshing. I can see why it's, yeah, as a sort of pick me up, livens up your taste buds.
Okay.
The absinthe, when they wash the glass, is really kind of giving you that black licorice smell. More than anything.
Sure.
Um, yeah, very nice. I'm gonna try to make another one of these during the holidays because we'll have champagne, and I
Mm.
don't normally have that around. So um,
Oh, we don't
I'm not like
either.
Phil and Dana.
I do have to share. Chris made me a beautiful drink the other day, and I'm gonna share him in it because
Did,
he made it so
did it have champ?
lovely. It did have champagne in it. Hold on one sec. Eh,
Put it over your face.
Oh,
The
right, right,
the the
right.
cookies.
Freaking forget that shit. Yeah,
Ah,
I know. But it's like
I mean, I recognize Chris, and I
I know
see
you do.
cranberries.
There, okay. So it is raspberries and
Mm.
rosemary, and it's frozen
Hmm.
together at the bottom of a glass. Oh,
Yep.
now you can see my cool Shakespeare wallpaper. It's frozen together at the bottom of a glass with prosecco, and then
Okay.
oh, here, hiding behind my phone. It's frozen at the bottom of a glass with a prosecco, so it's like a snow globe, and then you put gin and tonic over it,
Oh, okay.
and that's how you drink it. There it is. There it is.
Cool.
Yeah, it was really, really good.
So it sort of
There it is.
melts
There
the
it is. Now
ice
you can
block
see
of everything?
I was holding it way
Yeah,
too
that's a
far
better picture.
back to try to get it over my face. There it is.
Very
So, yeah,
nice.
it was quite delicious. It was definitely in the holiday spirit. I enjoyed it a bunch, and, yeah, we don't
You should
keep
have
champagne
demanded
around in
another tonight.
general. Well, he was like, "I could totally make you another tonight," and then we forgot to pick up more champagne because we just don't keep it on hand.
Mm,
So
yeah,
I went with a winter sangria because I also felt that, but yeah,
sure. Very
would have
nice.
loved that.
Cool. Well, salud. And anyone else out there joining with a cocktail or beer, whatever. Okay. Um, how's your week been? Manage anything?
Whew.
I see you just added a couple last minute things here that are kind of big.
Yeah, I know, right? So yeah, some newer things, some bigger, mostly old things. Um, yeah, I finished Great British Baking Show this season, so I am aware of who the winner is. It is not who
Were
I
you
would have
happy with
thought.
the win? Okay.
I was happy with the winner in terms of like I like the winner and they were a very consistent baker, but I definitely thought it was going to be someone else and I hoped it would be someone else. So
Okay.
I'm a little bummed that way, but like not crushed. There have been a couple of years where I've been like, no, not that person. And this one I was like, oh, but okay, you're cool.
Sure.
Um, so yeah, that's how I kind of felt about
That's
that.
funny. Ashley and I were just talking about that today because we finished the holiday baking championship on Food Network,
Oh, yeah,
and we don't almost never does the person like the number one person we wants to win, but
sure.
this time they did. So it's like,
Ooh,
wow, yeah,
that's so satisfying, isn't it?
yeah, yeah,
Yes. Yeah, sometimes I feel like I can't quite tell who the winner is on Great British Baking Show, and then somebody wins, and I'm like, interesting. Like, thinking back over the season, maybe I could see that. And that was kind of this one where, like, thinking back over the season, I was like, oh, so consistent. I get it. Not always the flashiest, not the,
right.
wow factor, but like
No
solid.
train wrecks. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So I was like, I get it, but also I was a little disappointed that like the kind of more experimental and flashier baker didn't win because that's what I wanted. So
Well, so I wonder if I was watching the latest one. What season is it?
12?
12. Okay, that sounds right. That sounds right. You know the person only having watched a few episodes, we'll see if this is the right one then. The person I would have wanted to win off of the few episodes we saw, there
Okay,
was kind of a I don't know what her ethnicity was for sure. I don't recall. She's maybe I don't know. She's maybe Indian or something,
sure,
but she was really creative. She's always talking about kind of her mom or grandma inspiring her. She was really kind of creative with things, and it always surprised me how good she was doing. Is this the right
sure.
season?
It is, yes.
Okay, alright, yeah, so
Didn't win. I
okay.
mean,
Okay,
gets far though,
okay,
but yeah, didn't win.
alright, okay, alright. Well, maybe we're done with Holiday Baking Championship, maybe we'll continue on with British baking yet. You know,
Do it,
these
do
things
it.
vary too. One of these things is like with Chopped, it was one of my issues is I feel like there's selective editing to make you uncertain. We kinda skew your
Yes,
perspective when the judges are speaking, what they show
yes,
you, what they say in a critique. It's like, "Wait a minute, like, based on what you showed us that the judges said, the other person should have won." And I think
yes,
that the Holiday Baking Championship, from what I saw, they really didn't do that. Like, I felt
sure,
earnestly what they were showing me is what the judges was the best summation of what the
sure.
judges thought.
Sure.
So,
I do feel that way about Great British Baking Show, like, often, they do show you truly, like, what the judges think, and it sort of matches up with, like, who's going because there were a lot of times this season where I was very accurately able to predict who was going to be star baker and who was going to be sent home. So I felt like this season in particular, I don't always remember maybe perfectly for other seasons, but this season I really felt like I was like, this is all like lining up. I can figure this out.
sure.
I can see who's doing what. And there were a few moments where I thought maybe they were trying to be tricky, but it was infrequent enough that it wasn't like a persistent issue for me watching
Mhm.
this season.
It's so tempting for me to just sit and ask you, "Okay, was it this person? How about this person?" Oh, no.
Post show, post show.
Yeah, no. No, I gotta save some surprises.
Okay. But
Alright,
yeah, so
very
I
cool.
I've I finished Great British Baking Show, loved it. Still one of my favorite things, and it continued on this season, is the way that people help each other. That is just it just like warms my heart. And they do it at such unexpected times where, very suddenly somebody's in trouble and all the bakers are like, what can I do? And they're like baking or they're, decorating
Yeah.
things for each other. And it's just like, oh, you guys, thank you for being good people because we need
Yeah,
that.
right. Yep.
Um, other examples of good people, thank you for being good people. There was a bonus episode that I just saw dropped on Netflix for the show My Happy Marriage. So I was like, "Yay, I am totally gonna watch this." And it was lovely and excellent and, dropped some new bombs about, where the new season is gonna be going in 2025. I
Oh,
think it's actually dropping in, like, January 2025. So it's not that far
okay.
away. Um, but yes, also was,
Hmm.
light and fluffy and adorable. So I really enjoyed
Yeah.
watching that episode.
The anime.
Yes, the anime. Mhm.
Okay. Alright. Hmm.
Yep,
Okay.
it
Yeah,
was the
no
bonus
idea.
episode where they were, it was all of Mio's hard work getting to the party. It was the party.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
So,
Alright, well,
yep.
if you have a spare time, we'll check that out.
Do it because, like I said, it's adorable fluffiness at a party and also, like, sets up, I think, a very right at the very last 4 or 5 minutes, sets up important stuff for where the new season is gonna go.
Speaking of anime, like, I shared my Crunchyroll thing, and it just shows my super lacking in, like, keeping up with because I
Oh
shared it
my
with a
god,
few people from
seriously.
the gym. One of my gym
Seriously.
mates has, like, 544 hours of anime this year. He's
Okay,
like, "I have
well,
free time."
does he
So
have kids?
no.
Okay, well, because I would love to watch more anime. That's part of what I'm excited to do this week where, my kids will still have daycare and I will be off from work. I can just, like, take a beat, watch some anime,
Sure.
put my feet up, wrap some presents, whatever.
Yeah. Wrap up Don to Don.
Mhm.
You wanna feel some feels a little bit for the holidays in a sense? Not like sad, sad, just sort of like, I don't know, appreciative, thoughtful, thought-provoking,
Mhm.
continue on free ren. Yeah,
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Things that, like, I keep meaning to do and just haven't had the time, like, that's what I wanna do this week.
nice. Very cool. Sounds
So,
fun.
but I did. I just thought, like, "Oh, hey, this is, like, one bonus episode. I can manage that for my happy marriage," and, I'm glad I did because it was pretty cute. So,
Nice.
and then just popping on the TV, and I was like, "Obviously, I have to watch this because this is holiday stuff." I did watch Lord of the Rings 2 and 3 this week. And also because I'm really excited, I'm really hoping that Chris and I are gonna have some time, to go watch, War of the Rohirrim. I do
Mm,
really wanna go see that.
okay. Nice.
Like, I don't care good or bad, I've heard reviews kind of both ways.
Sure.
I think skewing towards the positive, not in any sort of, like, I don't know, 100%, like, this is the best thing I've ever seen kind of way, but, like, I liked it, it was good, it was solid effort. So, yeah. I really do wanna go see that over the holidays as well.
I heard one very sad thing about it, and I won't say it
Okay.
till after you've watched it. It's not
Sure.
spoilery about the content. I don't want to. I don't want you thinking about something while you watch it. So
Okay.
yeah,
Sure, sure, sure. Yeah. So,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Well, cool.
those
Yeah,
to
I'm
me
hoping to
feel
get to
like
them.
Christmas movies, obviously, they came out in December every year, so it's just like, yeah,
Sure.
love it.
Yeah, I haven't really done much for Christmas movies this year. We
Mhm.
watched The Grinch with the kids finally.
Same.
Everybody was all the kids were sick. So it's like, okay,
Ugh,
more time sitting in the lap and some of that, and we'll
yes,
relax more tune time when the kids are
yes,
sick. And
yes.
so we did watch The
We've experienced
Grinch,
that as well. It's rough, I'm
but
sorry.
yeah, it's the way it goes. They handle it like champs. They're doing good. So
Good, I'm so glad.
um but I did watch Batman Returns. I didn't know if I was going to, but I
Ah,
did watch
good
that. I
stuff.
forgot to put it in here, but just as like
Sure.
my Christmas movie. And Bond movies are always Christmas things to me, so I
Yep.
put those on the background sometimes, ones that I don't need to like sit and focus on. So I've had some of that. Um,
Goldfinger. I love that movie.
yeah, I did actually sit and watch Goldfinger again, because it's the anniversary year. I wanted to squeeze that
Yes.
in. I'm not done with the book, but I'm in it. Um, and I will say my impression of it has improved over the years now. Like, it's just shocking
Mhm.
how my opinion positively shocking, actually, as Bond would say, um, that
I heard that in Connery's voice as the
yeah,
second you said
I'm
it. Positively shocking.
I'm definitely not gonna attempt an impersonation, not good at that,
Oh,
but,
I did, I don't care.
um, yeah, it my taste has changed a lot in them. Goldfinger has improved in a lot of ways.
Sure.
No, I did hear a critique that Bond seems very in the passenger seat in that movie. Like, he doesn't do a lot. He doesn't take a lot. He doesn't he sort of just is fall be carried along by the plot. And I will agree with that once he's captured. Like, I
Yes.
what I've learned is I really like Goldfinger up until the point he's captured.
Yeah.
Because, like, we start out, he's got a cool, mission, sneaking
Mhm.
in, planting explosives, and then he takes that off, and he's got his white tux underneath and
Yep.
or dinner jacket, and he's just, there's the stuff where he's
Miami.
playing golf, that's all that stuff is great and
Yep.
classic, playing
Playing
golf with
cards against
Goldfinger.
Goldfinger to yeah,
Or like, yeah,
take
solving that where he's like, yeah,
yep,
catching him and cheating,
yep,
almost getting shot by the sister of the
yep.
girl painted in gold, and tracking her down. They kind of run into each other. All that stuff is cool. Like the countryside that we see there is beautiful. There's a lot of good. Connery's got a lot of cool looks in the film. He's feeling very Bond, confident and cool. But then he gets captured, and it's really just Goldfinger kinda like, "Well, I guess we can't maybe you're right, you're worth keeping alive for now." He goes from prison, tries to escape, doesn't escape. He gets brought from one place to another. Then he's wheeled out to show that, see, he's okay because his allies are worried about him, they're following the tracker and
Mhm.
all that sort of thing. And again, he's just so it's just and then at the end, the most you can say he did was he had sex with pussy galore. So she turned and talked to Washington, to the CIA, to to switch out the gas and like,
Mhm.
let everybody know Goldfinger's plot. So
Mhm.
really it was again pussy galore's actions. And then, at the end, he doesn't disarm the bomb. The other guys come in and get it, turn it off right at double
Right.
7 seconds. Also, so it just really, to me, kind of falls apart in the second half. So,
Ooh, I mean, I agree with pieces of that for sure. Like, there are things I think, like, you're right, he is kind of carried along by the plot, but, like, that is part of being captured, right? Like, you're not in control, so you kind of have to just roll with what's, your captor is doing sometimes and sort of like, "You gotta keep me around." You just, like, scramble to catch up to what's going on and, like, figure out how you can just, like, be useful enough to be kept alive until you can figure a way out of there. And to me, it's lame that Bond's way out of there is like sleeping with Pussy Galore and like convincing her to turn. I get that. It's not very active. It's not very like take charge. So I agree with you somewhat that he's carried along. I think some of it can be explained by being a captive. Like, you do just kind of have to be at the whims of your captor and go along with what they do because they're in charge. But you kind of hope at some point like you're able to take control again. Um so yeah, so I agree that like Bond doesn't quite capture that like sense of activity. Like you said, he doesn't disarm the bomb at the end. Somebody else comes in and does it. I do as an audience. I like the first time I watched it, I still remember like, people popping up after the supposed gas, and really enjoying that like plot twist.
Mm,
So it
mhm,
doesn't bother me terribly, even though like I recognize it's not Bond's doing. I like it. Um, I do also remember, like, watching somebody come in at the very last second and, like, the arm coming into view on the camera and just, like, flipping the switch, like, "Bond, don't screw it up." Like, "We're here to touch it." And I was, like, feeling the tension, so I love that. But I do, on a rewatch, see where it's for Bond, it's not a very heroic ending to the movie,
mhm,
It's not
yeah,
I'm super spy Bond. It is a little bit more passive, so I get that.
mhm.
So yeah, so
I
so
just
like I say, I get pieces and also sometimes I sort of like was like, I kind of get it.
yeah. Yeah, I used to have a lot more fondness for some of the Connery ones, and it feels blasphemous to say, but I have a more fun time now watching the Roger Moore movies. Like, when I wanna have a fun time, I turn on a different Roger Moore film.
Blasphemy.
And because Connery is he's still such a great James Bond
Mhm.
for that cinematic the version that he created in conjunction with everybody else involved, like, he just does that great. But the movie around him, I'm liking less. I need to rewatch Doctor No, and I need to rewatch, You Only Live Twice.
Yes.
So those are ones coming up soon for me because, um, Doctor No, I finished the book, and I
Yep.
think that's my favorite Bond book that I've read so far, probably. And, so I wanted to watch the film. And then You Only Live Twice, I've heard some people rave about how well it's shot, how
Mhm.
gorgeous it is, and so I need to give
Sure.
that another shot and really,
Sure.
uh, sit down and see if I can appreciate that more. Otherwise, man, I'm on the Roger Moore train, when I want a fun time,
Get out.
'cause I used to hate The Man with the Golden Gun, I used to hate it, and I've been watching it now, and it's tons of fun. It's tons of fun. Love it.
I mean, I will admit that I laugh more at the Roger Moore movies. I don't know if it's
Mhm.
good laughing or bad laughing.
See, it's me in me, it's good laughing. I'm laughing
Mm,
along at the gags. I'm not laughing at
no.
it, you know?
One word, Octopussy.
Okay.
I
Oh, I
can't.
don't like yeah, I don't prefer
I
Octopussy. I don't
can't.
prefer Octopus I 'cause, there are ones I've rewatched Moonraker and Octopussy, I don't like. I still do not like those. But there's a couple I'm saving to really sit down and watch again.
Sure.
And that would be The Spy Who Loved Me.
Sure.
That one, I've always really liked, so I hope I still do.
All right. I'm gonna
When
I'm
we
gonna
re
try to be fair and say that like every Bond does have, they're good and bad movies.
oh, yeah,
Nobody I
absolutely.
think has like a perfect. score as Bond, where, like, every movie
No,
is a genuine hit.
no.
But I still do have a lot of problems because I do, and maybe it's just because I haven't rewatched some of the more serious Roger Moore ones in a long time. It's just so hard for me to dissociate, like, some of, like, the ridiculous puns and one-liners and double entendres from the Roger Moore era from, some of the better films. I can't, you know, it's hard for me to
Right.
separate.
So I will say the one thing that proves your statement there incorrect is actually George Lazenby. It's a little unfair because it's,
Yeah, I mean,
you
okay,
know,
alright, alright,
and
alright. You're correct
and
because, I mean, he doesn't have, like, a whole
yeah.
filmography to really choose from, so you can't
Who's
say, like,
ever
he has good and bad movies. I get it, I get
which
it.
is the biggest dud from each one? Which is the biggest dud? Sean
Oh,
Connery
god,
is easily Diamonds Are Forever.
yes, obviously. Octopussy is
I
horrific,
think so. I think so.
horrific from Roger Moore. I
Mhm.
would have to think a little bit more about the others.
Okay.
Tho
I
those
mean,
2
well,
those
I
2 I
wouldn't.
can
But
those 2 I can say those 2 I can say immediately. I mean, okay, Die Another
Pierce
Day.
Brosnan, yeah, Die Another Day.
Yeah,
That's not
yeah. Alright, that's yeah.
D
Ugh.
you know,
Quantum of
Daniel
Solace,
Craig, yeah,
it's pretty
you
bad.
know, since
It's
rewatching
pretty
it, I
bad.
have a greater appreciation for Quantum of Solace. Like,
But it
me
doesn't but,
knowing
like,
what
greater
that film is now.
but does greater appreciation mean, like, it's not still, like, bad? Do you know what I mean?
No,
Like,
yeah,
you
yeah,
can you
it do
can say
it
it's
does.
better, but you can also be like, "This is still the worst." Do you know what I mean?
My problem with that film was the way that my expectation for what it was going to be, and then it wasn't that. I
Yeah.
thought, "This is not the right path
But,
for
like,
Bond."
thinking about his filmography, I still think it is the worst of his filmography. It doesn't mean it's, like, the worst Bond I've ever seen. Do
I
you know what I
think
mean?
maybe the worst Bond movie of Daniel Craig's is No Time to Die. Which is
Ooh.
unfair because I really actually enjoy No Time to Die, but it
Is it
loses some Bond elements. Like, it loses
Oh.
a lot of fun. It brings Bond into very real life scenario, like he's now a
Sure,
dad and a family guy.
but, like,
Some people argue that it's a breach of contract for what Bond is supposed to be.
sure. Oh, that's hard for me because, yes, and also, like, in other senses, like, it does bring back, like, classic Bond things, like multiple Bond girls, like, great cars. Felix Leiter is back, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but
ooh, that
he's
I would have to think about that. I would have to think about that, and maybe painfully rewatch Quantum of Solace because in my mind, it's still probably the worst movie, but is it the
definitely
worst
rewatch it
Bond movie? Do you know what I
because
mean? It's like 2 different things.
yeah,
It might be the worst movie, but it might not be the worst Bond movie. I would have to think about that.
right. Yeah.
And Timothy Dalton, I don't know. I don't know.
I used
Again,
to
very
love License to
short.
Kill, and now it's sort of kind of flipped a little for me. Like, I enjoy
Yeah,
a lot more of the fun of The Living Daylights and
sure.
License to Kill, and maybe it's just because I watched it so much that I'm just
Sure.
kind of
And, like, Timothy Dalton, I never thought, like, this is the worst one, so I would have to think about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, they were
yeah,
both, like,
right.
good, so I
Yeah.
wouldn't think, like, there isn't an obvious, "This is terrible."
They take one of the most gorgeous men to ever live, and they ruin him.
Whoa! Most
They
gorgeous men ever li Daniel Craig, are you listening to this? Damn. You used to have such a man
Timothy Dalton
crush
is
on
pretty
Craig.
classically handsome. He's
I
pretty
mean, he is
classically handsome.
such a thing. There was, like, a period of time where Daniel Craig was your boy. So
My boy, I don't know. You'd have to ask him about that if he was ever my boy. But
I don't have to ask
no,
him, I
I
have to
just
ask Ashley.
okay. No, they like slick back his hair when he's in
Mhm.
the casino, and it just
Yep,
looks awful. It's just like, what are
yeah,
you doing right now?
yep.
And then there's a really awkward thing with the two Bond girls in there, where like, Lupe is totally into Bond, and she's very gorgeous and all this stuff, and then she lays a big kiss on him at the end, and he totally is for it. But then he sees the other Bond girl is upset by it, is like, sorry, I should actually go. And then he like jumps in the pool with her and stuff like that. It's like, okay, now we'll kiss. It's like,
Yes.
what? Wait a
Yeah.
minute. Like you just chose last second there, I guess, your girl. It was a weird moment. It was a weird moment.
That's honestly sometimes, I mean, that's sometimes what happens with Bond. Like, there's a moment, oh god, forgive me, I in Goldeneye, where, like, there's, like, a weird vacillation between Xenia and Natalia, and I was like, "This doesn't work. You've already,
Oh, you
like,
think
been into
so?
Natalia." Yeah, like, when Xenia comes back and is, like, trying to seduce him again, and he's sort of like, "I don't know, maybe we could kiss," and you're like, you're into Natalia, like, don't be that, and it just doesn't
Hmm.
quite work for me. Not in a, like, movie ruining kind of sense, but there is a second as a viewer where you go, "Huh? You
Well,
already
to me,
chosen your girl?
well,
Why?"
no, no, no. I disagree because anytime it's within the mission, like what, because Roger Moore is definitely like, okay, we're about to have sex. Oh, wait, the other one's coming in. Get in the closet. Now wait for us to wrap it up. And then, it's like really sort of
Oh,
switcheroos. But it's when it has to deal with the mission or something different. This was like everything was in
but it
Timothy
isn't
Dalton's case, everything
always.
was done. It was the end. Like, now
But,
it's
like,
just
in
who you
this
want to go
sense, like,
home with.
Bond is aware that Xenia's not good, and still sometimes he's kinda like, again.
He likes that little bit of crazy,
He
you know?
does, but as a
No more
viewer.
foreplay.
Yes, but as a viewer, you go, "Didn't you choose your girl?" You know? I think sometimes what's very formulaic about Bond is very reassuring as a viewer. You have Bond Girl
Yeah,
1 and you have Bond Girl 2, and you don't switch 1 and 2 back and forth. You have
sure.
Bond Girl 1, you are done, whether she is evil, whether she gets killed, whatever it is, and then you have Bond Girl 2, that you end the movie with. And sometimes when they mix up that formula, as a viewer, you go, WTF?
Is Bond Girl 1 in The World Is Not Enough not Sophie, um, blanking on her name, the oil
Marcel?
tycoon? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
right, but then he clearly switches to Christmas Jones
Yes.
because Sophie is
Nuts.
maniacal and horrible, and he has to kill her.
Yes. But
So,
that
there's
follows
your
the
switch.
formula. That follows the formula. She is Bond girl number 1, and it doesn't matter how long she's in the movie for. Whatever it is, you have to, she's crazy, she's now the villain. You have to switch to
Mhm,
Bond girl number 2, and it's a very clear, like,
okay.
"You are crazy, I must switch to Christmas Jones."
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's very
yeah,
formulaic. It's
sure.
it's when you go back sometimes to Bond girl number 1 and you have, like, a little moment that as a viewer, you're like,
Mhm.
"We were done. She was over."
Well, what about the doctor? I mean, that's what he's gonna leave Christmas Jones for the doctor that cleared him for service at the beginning of The World Is Not Enough. What about her, Andrea?
She is not a Bond girl.
Wow.
She's
Oh, that
not.
actress
She's
is
never is.
probably
No, they never are. There's always, like, one-off girls that you are very clearly like, "This is a scene setup. This is, like, schmexy time for a one-off." You know what I mean? There's
I
always
think
a one Bond girl.
Caroline Monroe would, disagree. I met
No.
her and she is like, it's a smaller role, but she's like, she spent good time with Roger Moore and she's like, he was so great. And I got picture signed by her and she's like,
No, there's
I'm
always, like,
Bond
a
girl.
one-off girl, and she can be cool. She can be fun, she can be, like, and there's sometimes a hint of, this is a regular thing that you don't see on screen this is my regular partner, I kind of come back to, whatever.
Mhm.
But they don't really count, I feel like, in the credits especially. You know when there's a clear Bond Girl 1 and Bond Girl 2.
Sure. Hmm. Okay, well, very interesting.
Boy, I did not expect
Andrew
to
should
get
write her
into this.
thesis on yeah.
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
developing my Bond thesis as we speak.
yeah. Mhm, mhm. And then I was also in a couple other, it's, fun adventure mode here. I've been
Oh,
playing
yeah,
Indiana Jones and the Great Circle video game,
that looks like fun.
so I'm hoping to rewatch some Indiana Jones movies sometime here after the holiday season because this takes place after Raiders of the Lost Ark, but before the Last Crusade. And the game is so much fun so far. It really feels like you're playing an Indiana Jones movie. Um, it's just cool. Its story is fine so far, but the Troy Baker does such a great job voice acting Harrison Ford. You feel like you are playing. A lot of times you'd have a game and it's like, okay, it's Indiana Jones game, but they don't use Harrison Ford's likeness. It doesn't have his voice. It's just different, but this really feels like it's in continuity, and along with it, it's fun. A lot of fun. So
Mm.
enjoying that, enjoying getting back into that world that I haven't been in quite a while. And then
Sure.
I've been reading Dune. So reading Dune. Dune is split into, as far as I know, 2 books, it's called, within it. So I've finished and gone a little further than book 1 in
Mhm.
Dune. So I don't know, approaching the halfway point or whatever. Um, and yeah, it's been really good. It's been great to kind of expand my, uh, understanding of the movie and flesh that out, and yeah, it's been awesome. So
Very
Yeah,
nice.
so that's been my week, and then we'll stick on the Dune thing. We'll just carry it through. We'll be talking about the show in just a second, but I wanted to bring up this one news thing that this director of photography, Greg Fraser, will not be returning for Dune
Yeah.
Messiah. They've replaced him with Linus Sandgren, who did La La Land, Saltburn, and I think No Time to Die as well. So
Mhm.
um,
Yep.
I'm scared, Andrea.
I mean, I would be scared adjacent. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
these aren't
right.
terrible titles that this
No,
person has shot.
he
They're
may
not.
have won for La La Land or something. That one movie got a lot of accolades, so,
Yes.
you
Yes,
know.
it's very, I mean, yes, I don't remember all of them, so, yes, it's very possible that that happened. So, not a bad replacement, but yes, like, when you rely on visuals as heavily as Dune does, yes, this change feels upsetting. I would
Mhm.
get that.
I just I just they got their team, such a
Yep.
good team,
Yep.
but maybe I think Greg Fraser, some people suspect he's gonna be lined up to be working on the 2nd Batman movie at that point, so he
Ooh.
might have conflict there. And maybe part 2, it's just like, he's feels like he's done what he can do in the sands of Arrakis. I don't know, but it just seems like he'd come back if he had the option. So,
I mean, this is something that we talked about in the sense of like, Dune Prophecy versus the Dune movies. Like Dune movies are very focused on Arrakis and they haven't kind of strayed from the planet. So perhaps it wasn't something that, he felt interested in doing carrying forward.
yeah.
Um, you know, I don't know what Dune Messiah will exactly be focusing on, but if he just thought like it's more of the same, even though
I
you could still
Yeah.
even though you could still do it well, perhaps it just wasn't like enough.
I'm gonna guess it's a conflict of schedule, but but it just crossed my mind, as a
Sure.
possibility. I'll be
Well, and
interested to see
maybe
what he'll say because I'm guessing he will
sure,
address it at some point.
sure.
So
And maybe it was a conflict of schedule and he just didn't feel like it was enough to fight for. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, it's a
Hey,
conflict
everybody,
of schedule, and
do the
also
movie
I don't
6
really wanna
months and
yeah, I really
yeah,
don't wanna work it out because, like, it's okay. Like, I've been here.
yeah. Mhm.
So,
Okay, well, that's that. We'll see. Nonetheless, I'm very excited for Doom Messiah. Take your
yes.
time, get it right. That's my hope. But yeah, let's get into Dune Prophecy. Speaking of something I think they're getting right is, coming from someone
Yeah,
that's not read the source material from this. So take that for what you will. I'm going
same.
the other way. I rarely watch a movie or television show and then read the book it's upon which it's based.
Sure,
Rarely. I'm like, I've
sure.
heard that story now. I do it the other way around. If I've read a book or whatever and then or comic or something and then I see the movie, okay. Um, but I don't do the other way around. So this is an exception. Um, but Doom Prophecy, let's talk about episodes 3 through 5
Mhm.
quickly, sort of like to place us here. To my, if I'm remembering these right, because I just watched episode 5 today, which I believe you did as well.
Yes.
But then 3 and 4 were a little bit ago. 3 was our spoilers is on the screen. Crazy backstory episode for
Yes,
Tula Harkonnen,
Harkonnens. Well, I mean, Tula
and
and Valia, but yes, a lot more crazy for Tula, just sort of level setting for Valia.
yes, right. Which this whole thing, again, for everybody's watch it, hopefully you watch it. We have Tula going and essentially infiltrating the Atreides family and wiping them all out, poisoning them
Ah,
all.
almost.
Well, all of them but one. Yep. So there's yeah. Um Crazy, crazy. So that's episode 3. We get,
Yes.
where they're going, how they came to the sisterhood essentially is what that's about. And then we have, episode 4 that is, really the whole kind of confrontation standoff. The Landsrat is meeting,
Mhm.
and the rebels, the brewing rebellion, is attempting to send a message and really start the rebellion with this by sending in a
Mhm.
thinking machine that's going to explode during the Landsrad meeting. Um, and Valia wants to thwart this to say, look at how needed the sisterhood is.
Yep.
And Desmond, it comes in and thwarts it before she can
Mhm.
and says, "Look at all." So he sets up for option for the emperor to be like, "Yeah, we got a lot of traitors, and we need to rat them out." Like
Yep.
it's so that's that. And then episode 5, we really get more into get a lot of reveals. We get
Yeah.
that Lila is other past ancestors are coming through in her, and they find out that uh
And you find which
the
one? Because I think it was a question mark for, like, the last
y-
episode.
well, it was said that the Reverend Mother,
Rakella?
what's her name? Yeah. She was there helping figure out what these mysterious abilities Desmond is
Mhm.
analyzing the brain matter of their killed sister and finding out that this is a virus, like an
Yes.
airborne virus that is
But,
somehow
like
infecting
but,
them.
like, in episode 4, when we were still figuring out how and apologies for getting into details, but, like, when we were still figuring out how Lila was getting out of, her comatose, post-agony, I think there
Mhm.
was a question mark, like, who exactly of her forebears was going to be possessing her spirit. It
Yes.
was clear it wasn't her, but there was, like, a couple of, like, I think, red herrings now that it was maybe Dorothea,
Yeah.
and now we are very aware that, like, no, it's Mother Rakella.
Yeah. Well, I was under the impression that it was switching because she kind of said at one point, "I don't know how long I'll be
Yes.
here. I'll be in control." So it was kind of like who's coming to the forefront at different times, and
Right,
that to me is why
exactly,
she was rushed quickly to Tula while Dorothea had control.
exactly. Yep.
Mhm. And then we end with, the big bombshell of who's Desmond. It seems that Desmond is the thrown away son of Tula and the
Yes.
Atreides that she slept
Ori,
with, the one. Yeah.
Ori. Yep.
So holy schnuckers.
Schnuckers.
Didn't see it coming. So that's
No,
sort of
no.
like big, setting everybody where we are if you're,
Yes, level
caught up
setting.
here, but yeah, but forget what's in what episode specifically. So what do we wanna talk about? Like, what stands out? What do you wanna broach first?
Oh, I wanna go back to episode 3 because I mean, I wrote this, but I love a good flashback. I love a good origin story. Episode 3 was great. This is, like, stuff that I
Yes.
love, like, traveling back in time and just, like, seeing everything going on, setting it all up, from Lake Vale to, Tula heading out and infiltrating the Atreides. And, it tells us so much about our characters because it tells us a lot about Valia, the rancor she feels, the bitterness, the hatred, the burning desire to do something. And then it shows us that, like, Tula's the one who did it. She may have been influenced by Valia, but she is the one who actually went out and committed the actions. And Valia still technically talk, you know? And it kind of continues into a lot of what's happening in our present day where, like, Valia is setting up a lot of stuff and she's not really the person carrying out the actions. So I feel like that tells us a lot about, you know, how our characters feel, their motivations, why sometimes Valia presses people and why they push back on her because she's not the one doing the things all the time. So,
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like this was such, like, a great setup episode, and it also tells us a lot about, even though they're not together on screen a lot right now, it tells us a lot about how Valia and Tula react to one another because Tula often does things and then feels guilt or feels shame, or Valia says, "I'm proud of you for doing X," or Tula's aware that Valia would be proud of her for doing something, but she shies away from it. She's like, it doesn't feel good to me. It's never a good thing when Valia would be proud of me because I don't feel like her priorities are the right priorities, even when I may, you know, be pressured into doing these things or think abstractly that they are correct.
Hmm.
It still doesn't feel good all the time to have her say, like, "I'm proud of you." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you think she's not aware of her sister being, I don't know, on the wrong end of decisions sometimes? You think that it's always
She
like a
she is. I think there's, like, a disagreement sometimes with her methodologies, but there is, like, a same feeling, but maybe to a lesser degree that, I think she feels the Atreides wronged their family, but would she go as far as, like, killing all of them if Valia didn't,
right.
give her a push? Probably not. She would
Hey,
still
what's
feel it, but she wouldn't feel it, like, burning every part of her life the way that Valia does.
yeah.
Whereas, like, every action, every sentence, you can just feel the raw anger. Tula feels it, it's just lesser enough that she could sort of live with it, but be logically aware that the Atreides wronged her family.
Yeah. Right. It's they're really fascinating characters because, like, I wrote in here, in reference to Valia,
Mhm.
um, she hated what her family and became and got. Wow, I don't know what I was typing there. But she hated that like the lot that her family had in life,
Yeah,
but a more sane person would have just jumped at the chance of the sisterhood. But
yeah,
she has this like, where does it come from? Like you say, the burning hate for how could our family be wronged? Like it's a I mean, maybe it's just like I'm not empathizing with it enough. Like if your family name
mhm,
was kind of trash, but the sisterhood's sort of a perfect way to get rid of that. So like
yeah,
I have a new family. I have a new purpose. I have, and she has an aptitude for it. She
mhm.
is she's accepted there, whatever. It's a way to
Yeah,
really let her family name go and make
but she
something else. But
can't.
she can't.
Yeah,
She and
it's
we
an
find she
obsession.
never can. Like maybe now, can she now? The question is she now over
Present,
it
yeah.
actually? I don't know because
I don't know
she
either.
still had to go back to them. She still had emotional outbursts and like argument
Mhm.
with her, father or whatever there. Um, was it father or that's her
Oh,
father, right?
her uncle,
Is it uncle? Okay.
the Mark Addy, Robert
Yeah.
Baratheon.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Uncle,
Uncle.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cause I was just shocked like that it's still affecting her so much. Like you
Yeah.
all this that you've done, your machinations, what you've become, your abilities and influence throughout the lands
Mhm,
rad and like,
mhm.
but still you brought back to this. So
Yeah,
fascinating, like where that came from and that
yeah.
personality element.
I mean, I do think it's at least very consistent that she has a when she has a grudge, she will not let it go. And she has dual grudges, she and they can be they can be very conflicting at times, where, she's so obsessed with her family and, like, restoring their name that, she holds a grudge against the Atreides endlessly until Tula
Yeah.
achieves vengeance. But she still kind of soft has it, especially when she learns, you know, that another Atreides has influenced, the palace, the Imperium, House Carino.
Yeah. Well,
I
lived
get it.
and
Lived,
yeah,
yes,
they
and
have
and is there
descendants.
now. Yes.
Mhm.
But at the same time, she holds a grudge against her own family for not, like, recognizing that she is special. Her point of view is the right point of view, that they should be fighting back, they should be restoring
What a
their
brat.
family name.
You just had to
Yeah,
say it's the brat.
she is kind of a brat. I mean,
It's
I'm not
just
gonna
it
dispute
is.
that with you for sure, but she has competing interests and competing grudges, but she can, logic herself into holding both at the same time, where
Yeah.
it's consistent that she has a grudge against her own family for not recognizing her vision and her path for them to restore to glory as the right one, that she denies them a truth sayer. She is furious with her uncle. Like, all of that at least feels consistent with her character,
Yeah.
if not,
Yeah.
like, logical or something as an audience that we'd go, let that go. What are you doing?
Yeah. No, I buy it. I buy it.
Yeah.
Um, and then her sister, then Tula, like would she so the question is ultimately I'm like, well, people
You could
are
ask the same
responsible
question
for
of
their own.
Tula. Why doesn't she let go of the Harkonnens and just jump at her, chance to enter a new family?
Yeah, well,
Thalia
she never
has the
holds the same
opportunity to.
bitterness
Well,
towards
that's
her
that's what I mean,
family.
though. Like, but she doesn't, but also she doesn't hold the same bitterness towards the Atreides that Valia does. You know what I mean?
And
Like, she does
that's
what Valia pushes her to do, but, like, really, Valia could have let it go and joined the sisterhood. Tula could have let it go and just married into the Atreides clan and been happy, I think.
Yeah.
Because Ori
I
seems chill. He was like, "We are not our families. I get why you didn't tell me your last name, but I don't care." And it wasn't even like, "I have to look past you being a Harkonnen." He just
right.
didn't care. He's like, "We're not our families. You don't have to be afraid to just be happy with me."
Yeah.
Ugh, that
I
that killed me watching that. I was like, "You're a good dude."
oh, she was so stunned when he's like see, but that's so here's the thing. This can I bring a real world religion thing into this? Or is that should I
Sure.
just like all right.
Sure, I mean,
So read
I don't know if I have an answer, but you can bring it.
Yeah. Well, so I read a book that's about this woman that escaped like a radical Islamist family and everything, and told to marry you have to marry this person, all sort of thing. And um she was, you know, in the beginning of the book, she says like, "I'm not writing this book to tell people like to be terrified or to hate Muslims or something like that. Like, what I want you to do is to have empathy. And if you, the best course of action you can do is to show, like, treat like anyone really, but treat people with complete shocking kindness because in the type of family she would come from, they were told that anybody else that's not a believer is hates you,
Mhm,
despises you. So they're not going to give you the chance, the time of day. They're not gonna care about you at all. So when they go out in the real world and they meet people that's not what they see, it shocks kind of shocks their worldview. Like, but I've always been told these people will hate me.
mhm,
The other people will despise me, but they're being so nice. They're offering, inviting me to these things and whatever, And so that's kind of the thing I feel like with did did Tula get this type of treatment from Valia? Like, where did she was she raised from some other source, or this hatred for the Atreides, and they hate you? They will stop at nothing to end you and our line and
mhm,
our name because they're horrible people. Look
mhm,
what they did to us before. They're all, worthless now. Like,
mhm.
and then Tula finds out too late that's not the case.
Yeah,
They actually don't care, and it's not they judge you as an individual, not as a
right,
group.
right.
And so is that the influence that Valia had on her? And without it, she wouldn't have made this kind of radical decision.
Yes. Yes, I think you're coming from a correct place, honestly. Like, that's Valia's view of the Atreides, absolutely. I'm sure she repeated it ad nauseum to Tula. And like, the rest of the family says Valia's always had like an undue influence on Tula and she abused it. Feels very correct. And yeah, I mean, Ori's speech comes in the morning after Tula's already poisoned the stew and killed everybody. Does it feel like Tula could have maybe let Ori at least go though? Yes. It
Okay.
that one hurt because it felt like, he's probably gonna hate you,
Right.
but you didn't need to kill him. Like, you found out
Yeah.
he was a decent guy,
Right.
coulda probably let him go. Ugh,
Y-
that
y-
one hurt me as a viewer. He was
But
so good, and I hated that. I hated that killing.
but
And
at that
really, like,
point, she has to
what did
assume
you
he's not
do?
going to let her go.
But, like, yeah, but I don't know.
I understand your
Like,
point, but she has to be able to like get away then.
but
It's
then she
not
lets the other kid go,
Yeah, but
you
he's a
know?
kid and he's like
But he could
at a
come back for her.
distance
He could come back for her.
sometime, but
He is
not in the
clearly very aware.
yeah.
So, yeah, logic, it's fuzzy in the moment, but it did feel personal. It did suck to like see her kill Ori knowing that he was,
Yeah.
like, such a decent guy. And
Mhm.
also, I get it as a viewer, like, it made that harder for Tula, and then it did, like, deepen I think a very shallow rift between her and Valia, because I think there was a rift there when Griffin was killed, and, Tula did feel that Valia was a little bit responsible for that. So it was like a
Mhm.
like a first chip, and then Ori being so decent was like a deeper, like, slice, creating a valley between them. And now I think,
Yeah.
current events are widening the gulf and
Mhm.
making this, a bit deeper and wider as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, ooh, that
I don't
flashback felt rough.
not to, like, get ahead of ourselves, but I am looking forward to the final episode here because it looks like they're going to address, like, how she ended up giving up the baby and stuff, because
Yes.
I can see the mind. It's one of those things I've talked about it on here before, how when you you go over a certain precipice, your
Mhm.
mind now has to rationalize that course of action or
Yes.
you can't live
Mhm.
with yourself. So it'd be the
Exactly.
thing where, like, of course I have to, like, get rid of
Yes.
this kid and all this stuff, because I've started down this path, and instead of your mind sitting there and trying to, "What have I done?" It's like, nope,
Yeah.
it had to be that way. So,
Yeah.
I'm interested if that's what we end up kind of receiving here.
I agree. I agree. Um, two other quick things I just wanna mention
Mhm.
from episode 3, and then I think, we
Yeah.
we can move on unless, you wanna address something as well. One is I just chuckled at this whole, we do have some flashbacks, we do get, our present day characters, kind of intermittently as well. And I loved this breakfast scene around the Emperor's family and Desmond Hart. And the Emperor and the Queen are like, "Sit down, everybody, have breakfast with Desmond. He's so cool." And the princess is like, "The fuck, guys." And they just sort of are like, "Hey, we're gonna throw a lot at you. Like, here's the guy who murdered your 9-year-old future husband. He's cool. Treat him great. We don't want you going to the sisterhood. Yay. Don't you want to be cool with us?" And she just looks around like, and as a viewer, I just like cracked up. That is the shittiest sort of parenting that I would just never try on my kid, to be like, all the things you hate, sparkles, like, be happy. Like,
Inez, the quiche is delicious. It's getting cold. Come on,
oh,
sit
have an
down.
orange,
Yeah.
you know? Oh god. Yeah. I
Mm.
love these sort of things now as a parent where you just sort of like, you're just doing everything that your child is going to hate. Why would you just be like, "Happy face?"
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so that just, was terribly enjoyable for me to just be like, of course your daughter is going to be like, "I would like to do everything I can to foil you in the next episode."
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and then at the very end, we have Sister Lila. We've already alluded to this, but her life is saved by spice and a very advanced thinking machine.
Yes.
Which the sisterhood is in possession of, which I didn't quite put together in previous episodes. I think we got hints of it when we talked about, like, the genetic archive, but I really didn't put together that it was, like, a thinking machine keeping the
I didn't
genetic
either.
archive.
I
So
didn't either.
that I felt like was a very big revelation to me. Sister
Mhm.
Lila is going to be alive at the end of episode 3. We don't know in what shape, but of course in our following episodes we get, more and more. But also the sisterhood is in possession of a very, very advanced thinking machine, which, I'm assuming is going to be either in the finale or in future seasons a very big issue for Desmond Hart and his
This
quest to eradicate thinking machines.
Yeah, you're right. This is a big revelation. It blew me away because it made me think, are they still using this 10,000 years later in Dune time?
Mm,
Like,
mhm.
I mean, is this still
Yes.
the a
Mhm.
backbone thing of the sisterhood
Yeah.
that, because I totally should have thought about that. I just didn't, you know,
No,
the
no.
depths of the
It
yeah.
wasn't something I put together. We got these, like, drips and drabbles and stuff like that, and then suddenly it was like, "Oh, that's what that is.
Yeah.
Shit."
That's how you're, like, putting together different
Ye
I figured you must have, like, a mentat trained kind of person that's
Yes,
calculating the
yes.
genetic compositions of different
Same,
people and how it's g
same.
no, you just have a computer to do it.
Yes. No, did not
Ah,
put those pieces together, and, yeah, that was crazy at the end of that episode.
yeah. Yep. Well, cool. I thought episode 3 was a great episode.
Agreed.
And then episode 4, like I wrote a vision. So I think that's when we start off.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
dealing with the whole like the one sister almost kills herself,
Yeah,
and
the
we have
shared
like the
dream.
one that's yeah.
Creepy. Oof.
And so we're getting that, like trying to process that, like everybody, okay, let's all do a drawing exercise, everybody take out your crayons, and that doesn't go well either. But
Yep,
that's cool. It's cool, I think. Um, and I remarked in this one again, that dining area is very awesome. I'm
yep,
jealous.
yep.
Uh, I would like that. I also wrote, I wanted to know what has really changed in the next 10,000 years because I'm like looking at stuff and thinking, these spaceships, the technology all looks are the same. And then I was listening to, I think, the official podcast, and they're talking about this, how really it doesn't much change because
Mhm.
thinking machines and technology really is not that's all on the back burner. That's an afterthought. That's a the tech anything technological is like a minimal thing, and thinking machines are banned. So of course they sort of figured out how they could manage these things, space
Right.
travel with spice and whatever, train up humans to replace computers, trying to advance human evolution, all that sort of thing, to make up for us not having computers. And then it's like stagnant, which makes sense. I just
Mhm.
didn't think of that. I'm like, 10,000 years of future, that's a long time. What has changed technologically? Well, not much. So they talk about, they try to keep few things a little more rudimentary,
Mhm.
some chips and stuff like that, but really it doesn't change. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't have too much to
We
say
got
'cause, yeah, there's not much to show that this has changed.
yep. We got the like which Atreides is our was
Mhm.
it Kieran Atreides? Is that who is his name? I'm
Yes.
not sure if
Mhm.
that's his name, or I'm just thinking. And so I was like, is that the little boy that lived? Time doesn't seem right. It's not. It's like that's his grandfather or something.
Yes, yeah.
So,
But, yeah,
mhm,
like, I mean, I could have sort of maybe, maybe his father
yeah,
or something like that. But yeah.
yep. Righteous but not pure. We get that line used a few times now. I thought that was interesting. So it's kind
Yeah,
of like the
and we
sister.
oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, just like it that really lines up with the sisterhood. It's like
Yes.
we feel we are on the righteous path, but we're not doing this like on the up and up all the time. We're doing what it takes to get
Well
things done.
and that's Valia's sisterhood path, which I think is, like, a very
Yes.
important distinction because we do have this, like, post-dream, we have the rise of this, like, mini cult of Dorothea, where one sister kind of, like, starts reading from the book and is like, "We should be doing, X," and, like, truth saying is for blah, and, it's very, like, a little bit more purity focused and a little bit stricter. And that's clearly
Yeah.
going to become, like, a bigger and bigger rift. Like, you see it in episode 5. I know I'm jumping ahead a teeny bit, but, we have, like, messages coming from Mother Superior Valia, and, like, there's, like, this acolyte and a bunch of others standing up on a hilltop, like, looking down on them, and it's very symbolic, I think, of division, but also like we think we're higher than you because we're doing like a pure form of the sisterhood that
Right.
Mother Raquella and Dorothea envisioned that you're not doing.
Yep.
So I think, that's gonna become a very important point in the last episode, I hope, plus going forward.
Yeah. In Again, not to get too far ahead, but it feels like a lot to wrap up in one episode.
It does,
I
and
just wonder
and
if
they won't.
you don't think so? You think they're planning for a season 2? Because I haven't heard
I
anything
do,
about it. Okay.
I do. I think there's a lot going on, and I would honestly be shocked if there wasn't a season 2. I don't think
Okay.
this is a show that goes maybe I'm eating my words later, but I don't think this is a show that goes like, 6, 8 seasons kinda thing. I think it's maybe like
Mhm.
2 to 3, maybe 4, but
Uh-huh.
I honestly would be shocked if there wasn't a 2nd season.
Okay. Yeah, because it seems like we have to have a winner here. Like, Desmond or Valia, like,
Yes, yes.
and
Yep.
that's a lot. So
There's too much other, I think, that isn't wrapped up. What's Lila
mhm.
doing? Are we, figuring out this virus thing? What's going on with the Imperium? Is the Emperor, going down this, path of, you know, dictatorial leadership? I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like there's too much to wrap up in an episode, and I think a season 2 is doesn't have to be next year or anything, but I think it's on
Right.
the horizon.
How does how does this virus get spread? How does it get activated?
Episode 5, episode
So
5.
okay.
Wrap up episode
Um,
4, but yes, also my question.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, and 4, so yeah, we get the shared vision, all this sort of thing. We figure out who the Atreides is.
Yes.
And then it's I thought it was interesting how I think it was referring to oh yeah, it's Tula and then the other elderly woman that is always
Avila.
there,
Yeah,
Avila.
she's kind of starting to
They
annoy me. She could kinda step it
chill
back.
out. Yeah. She but it's funny how they always disagree. Like, it's just
Always.
never do we agree on the course of action.
Well, and, like, there was one moment where they, like, disagreed about Lila, and then Mother Avila was like, "Oh, I feel sympathy for you, and I'm coming to you, and I wanna take care of you, and you're okay." And then, like, the next scene was like, "We're butting heads again." And I was like, "Oh my god."
Yeah. Mhm.
Sister Avila, I'm very tired of you butting heads.
Yep. My notes are scarce on this episode, which is interesting, but a lot because a lot happened. So we had the like, hey Atreides, we
Yeah.
felt focused on a little bit in the sense of, are you going to go through where is
With
your
the plot?
allegiance?
Yeah.
Yeah, like is it to Princess Inez or are you with what's going on here?
Well, and he
And
never really got tested, you know what I mean?
I
Like,
know,
he
which
was
I
very
wrote
aware that
in
the plot was foiled.
episode 5 comments
Yes.
because that comes up in episode 5. It's like I I chose my path or whatever. It's like, but you didn't really get the chance. Actually,
Yes.
your choice was taken from you. You took the grade off the thing, and
But
then nothing you
yeah,
could do. So
yeah. So here's my 2 concluding thoughts from episode 4. Number 1, um, I thought it was very interesting, and it doesn't have to be deeper right now, but I thought it was very interesting that we watched Desmond use his power to, cook a couple of the conspirators in the
let
plot
him
against
cook.
House Carino. Yes, against House Carino, but we see that the power makes him vulnerable.
Yeah.
It
Right.
very much costs him. So that is
Yep.
something I think is interesting for us as viewers to note for later. Like, it's not just like a free pass, you get this power. Like, he has very physical ramifications when he uses
Yeah.
this. Number 2 is Sister Theodosia. I believe is her name, the sister that's accompanying Mother Valia to Salusa, she can, like, shapeshift. She can be other
Yes.
people. That is
Yes.
insane, and
That's gonna be
it's
used somewhere.
yes, and it's used here to do a sort of catharsis for House Harkonnen moment and for Mother Valia in particular, but dang, you are right, that is going to be used somewhere else, especially now that she's buying into the mission more and more. That's gonna be used
Yeah.
somewhere else.
So, that was actually so yeah, God, there's so much happened in this episode. So, yeah, we had the big, like, "Okay, let's bring I'm going Valley's going back to her family.
Yep,
Hey, I'll get you on the Landsrod. We'll like, you'll be part of the top
yeah,
tier houses here, families." Um, but,
yeah,
you
this
just have to
episode
do
was
this little thing.
sneaky. This
Yeah.
episode was sneaky in the
Mhm.
amount of, like, important things that happened. They didn't feel big, but they were big.
Yeah. Um, and then, we get she lets her uncle die, all that sort of thing. But then that was
Ah, Robert
that was my
Baratheon, you died again on HBO.
I I love that actor in these things.
Mark
Like
Addy,
him,
yes, I
he
love
made
him.
me absolutely like Robert Baratheon is maybe my favorite character in Game of Thrones. Like I
Mhm.
just really, in
Even
hindsight,
though
appreciate him a
he's, like
lot.
he's, like, totally makes some huge blundering mistakes,
He,
you
he
know.
yeah, but that's what I kind of relate. He's just sort of over it.
Yeah,
He's like
yeah,
he sees the scheme, he sees the games, all the
yep.
stuff, and he's just really sort of done with it. He's not for
Oh, I mean yeah, I mean, in his initial Robert's Rebellion, like, he makes some huge blundering errors
gotcha.
and then,
Okay. Okay.
marries
Yes,
Cersei
yes,
of all people, like,
yes. Mhm.
gets talked into some pretty huge but yes, at the end, when we sort of meet him in the initial Game of Thrones seasons, absolutely, yes, where he's just like,
Yeah.
"Politics, brr."
Yeah, exactly. I just think
Yes,
that
I
the
agree.
actor made such a great turn for me because I only knew
Yes.
him as Fred Flintstone, and then he shows up in Game of Thrones, and I'm like,
Ah, that's
"Yes, it's
funny.
so cool." And
Okay,
then he's in this
you were
now and also
obviously not you were obviously not a millennial girl because one of his best roles is A Knight's Tale.
it's correct, correct. You're correct in your observation that I'm not a millennial girl, and then
You're a millennial
also that I have
male.
not seen A Knight's Tale. Yeah. He was in a sitcom too, right? Was he in a sitcom? Andrea, did you
John, that's
freeze?
not me being
Oh god.
no, that's not me being frozen. That's the amount of shock I'm trying to convey to you that you haven't seen A Knight's Tale.
Oh, I thought we were on the sitcom, but okay. Yeah, no, I haven't seen A
No.
Knight's Tale, no.
Okay, well,
We
I
talked about
literally
not being a teenage millennial girl or whatever, yeah.
refusing to do another episode of the podcast until you watch it.
Wow. It cannot be that good.
Oh, it's not, but it's like you have to watch it because you have to understand a cultural moment. Like, Heath Ledger is in it, Shannon
Mhm.
Sossamon is in it, who is so millennial actress. Oh my god, Alan Tudyk is in it. He is amazing,
Okay,
I love that man.
okay,
Mark
yeah,
Addy
yeah.
is one of the squires, Paul Bettany is in it.
Okay.
Ugh!
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Rufus Sewell is the adversary. He's like oh god, it's an amazing cast, and the movie is, like, so bad it's good. Do you know what I mean?
Look, when we are done with this show and we're looking for, I think we're gonna talk Arcane probably, we got
Yes.
stuff. But
We have
when
Don to
there's an
Don for the
opening
anime, yes.
yeah, when there's an opening, we'll do A Knight's Tale. How about that?
Okay,
We'll
I will hold you to that. We have to do it in the first quarter of 2025.
okay. Alright,
Done.
alright.
That's our retro rewind. It's set right now.
Yeah,
You will love it because Mark Addy is, like, just the most lovable bear of a human in that
okay,
movie.
Alright.
And also it's kind of like sad lovely because Heath Ledger.
Okay. Yeah, right. Well, Mark Addy is less lovable bear in this show, but he also does a good job and sort of starts giving you the, like, Baron that we know from Dune movies
Yes, gives the
vibes a bit.
visuals.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, I
And
felt that.
so I thought that was just cool. Like, I
Mhm.
feel this family, how they can evolve to that point now.
Yes, he
So,
is the forerunner to, Stellan Skarsgård.
yeah,
Absolutely.
right. Um, let's see. Anything else we got to talk about in episode 4? Again, it was just a lot. I thought it was a great
No.
moment. I was a great moment with Desmond really, speaking to everybody and just said it, just handing the softball to the
Mhm.
emperor.
Mhm.
Like he looks back at him like, yeah, sure. What like, he doesn't know what he's gonna do. Even he's just like,
Yeah.
you go, man. Let's see it.
Yep.
Whatever it is, you've got it handled. He's just so pathetic. But yeah, it really just sort of sets it up, a layup for him. And look at me in my sports, you know, whatever you call them.
Yay,
But
sports
yeah,
ball.
yeah, exactly. um,
Yeah,
but
you did
yeah,
good
I thought it
sports
was
metaphors there, thank you.
yeah. But I thought it was a captivating scene, and
Yes,
too
I
bad
agree.
for the um you know, head of the rebellion because he got
Mhm.
weeded out quick
Yep.
and burnt up just as quick. So, yeah.
Mhm.
Do you think it was intentional to leave the blood for Valia,
No.
or you don't think so? You don't think he was like, this is how I'm gonna tell you who I am. Know who
No,
I am.
no, I honestly think it was like a show of defiance and a show of strength and a, like,
A
just
martyrdom moment.
yeah, and I truly don't think there was a "you will know who I am" because I don't think the show is setting us up to feel like Desmond Hart knows she has a thinking machine and knows she
Okay,
does, like, the bloodline stuff. I not at this point. I feel like there's a point
sure.
he will find out,
Hmm.
and Valia will not be aware that he knows or suspects or, there is a suspicion, something, but I truly don't think it's right now.
Okay.
I don't think he
All right.
he is that aware yet.
Hmm.
Especially considering episode 5, he, like, chases the rabbit hole that she sends him down, trying to figure out the sisterhood's ties to things. I don't think he would go there if he knew, like, what the sisterhood was up to and what they were capable of in that sense.
Okay, so yeah, let's talk about that. Episode 5. So that's interesting. You say that he's kind of following or chasing the breadcrumbs
Mhm.
into this, but where was it? Where would that have been set up? Because I don't remember his name.
Her
The
nephew
new Baron Harkonnen.
Yeah, her
Yeah.
nephew, like, double agents and sends
Do
him,
you
like
think
says,
that
like
you think that was under her suggestion?
yeah. And I
Yeah.
think he did it, and here's why I think it. I think he did it being like, "I'm gonna do this for her and get into her good graces that way, but I'm also gonna, like, give him some real breadcrumbs, like Desmond Hart, some real breadcrumbs, because I think I can play it off convincingly enough that, like, if it goes south, I'll just be like Desmond Hart's dude all along." I think he really has convinced himself that he could, like, play both sides even though Volley is sending him in to play both sides. He
Okay.
thinks, like, I could flop either way.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
I bought that for sure.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not sure. Okay. I didn't read it that way, but that would make sense. Um,
He's to
he hasn't.
me a very weak character in the sense that is very afraid for himself, his fortunes, and very much believes that, like, he can convince whoever's in power that he's on their side,
Sure.
and he
Yeah,
will
he's
flop.
naive to all this.
Yes, he is naive to all this, and he will flop and turn on a dime at a moment's notice. Who's ever
Sure.
appearing to have the upper hand in the short run, he will go to,
Okay.
and he will do
Yeah.
whatever it takes to ingratiate himself with a person of power as long as, like, there's no cost to himself in the moment.
Right.
But whenever the second there's a cost, he will flip for sure.
Yep. Okay. I thought that was interesting. I like the shiny little ball he gets. I was like, oh, that looks cool.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is,
Yep.
but take one of those. Um, yeah, I was like, is that like a form of currency? I really didn't understand what that was. I feel
Mhm.
like that's something I should know. I have to
Yeah,
go back and say
I didn't
one
put that
thing.
either.
Yeah.
There's, like,
I
a
mean, it's
little, like
looks valuable and cool, but
it reminded me of one of those, like, electricity balls where you would, like, touch your
yeah,
fingers to
touch
the
it.
outside,
And
it
then,
would, like, go to your
mhm.
fingerprints.
But it's a miniature version. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
They
Oh
don't
god,
have
I
smartphones. They
love that
have
we had the
other
same
ways to
reference
entertain
on that.
themselves. Yeah.
So good.
um, oh, I have this thing I should send you about 90s stuff. It reminds me of 90s. Um, let's see. I have to go back and say one thing. The of these 3 episodes, the thing I liked the least. Oh, there, Alan shared it. Perfect. Yeah. Was at when it was in episode 4, I really don't think I bought uh Valia's assistant sister here using her special ability. Said that was a condition of her joining the sister that she wouldn't use
Sure.
using it in that situation. It was a confusing moment for me, and the
I
only
g
thing I could come up with was, yeah, for some sort of catharsis, but, like, what was the plan? Was there a plan here for, like, what was to
I
be
don't get it
said?
either.
We had, like, penguin moments here, like, you get to pretend to be I really had a problem with that because
I
I just
agree.
feel like they could have revealed easily enough what the ability was or save it. I get now we're like questioning, when will this be important? When will this come into when will it shock us? And then if they can shock us and we know that she
Right,
can do it, that's a cool trick.
right.
But
But it could have
I
been
just didn't
better.
like it.
It could have been
Yeah.
better in a better moment. Like, you're right. There was no stakes for her using it right there. And
No.
I completely agree. I don't understand why that was the moment and why she did it. There was no I mean, I said it, there's no stakes. There was no
Yeah.
impetus. There was nothing on the line for her to
No.
do it.
Right.
I don't
In
get it.
in the official podcast, they say that this is sort of her showing of that she's, like, loyal to Valia. Like, this is her
But why?
understanding her now. Right,
But
exactly
why?
why. She had an argument with her uncle about their family history that she's not really gonna have any context for. Like,
No.
why is
No,
she
why
now
would she
more
care?
empathetic to
Yeah,
Valia?
agreed, agreed.
This is my biggest issue with all of it, actually, not just these episodes. Like, I really didn't like that. I get that they wanted a way to because look, if they have an important time for her to use this ability and it
Mhm,
comes out of nowhere, then we'll be like,
mhm.
well, geez, okay, I guess you can, who knows what kind of powers you could have to just get you out of whatever
Right.
situation. Like it comes from nowhere. So you want to show it in some way. But can it come up in, like, a discussion? Like, "I want you to use this ability in this way," and we can have
Yep.
like, it's like, y you're saying, "I'm
Or
here,
there was
I'm
a
l" it I
situation,
yeah.
like yeah,
And it's also odd for Valia to show this sort of vulnerability
I agree.
to someone outside of her, like, close-knit,
Agree.
which is really just her sister. Like, she's got a whole show a image of strength, and I don't know.
Yep,
I didn't like that moment.
I didn't either. I liked it for the shock value of what she could do, like, what the secret thing was, but
Yeah.
I but the logic of the circumstances was 0. It made no
Yeah.
sense.
Yep. Yep. Well, let's hope that the next time the ability is used, it's far more rewarding
I
and
agree.
logical
I
situation.
agree.
I wrote down a line in episode 5.
Mhm.
Do not ever make the mistake of thinking
Oh,
you can become the man you're pretending to be. Wow. Dagger to the heart. That is a horrible
yes.
thing to say to anyone. That is a terrible, and I was wondering, like, is that a play of the sisterhood? Is that the idea? Like, let's keep this Atreides in line kind of thing. Like that's the sort of, you know, op, modus operandi we're doing here is like this Atreides could get a little big for his britches. Let's make sure we keep
Mhm.
him down a bit.
Mhm.
And so that's the sort of
Yeah.
attitude. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely felt like a, yeah. We need to keep you away from the imperial family and what we're doing there, and just, like, know your role, stay in your lane.
Yeah. Yeah. Staying, yeah. A less
So yeah.
eloquent way, but it may be a more efficient modern way to say,
Yeah,
stay in
stay
your
in your
lane,
lane.
bro.
Yeah, stay in your lane, bro. Yeah, that's definitely what that scene felt like to me. But also, like, I was kind of okay with it, in the sense of, like, it feels like something she would say to him to kind of keep him guessing, keep him off balance, keep him manipulated into, maybe whatever way I want to sway you, in
Yeah.
terms of, like, get closer to the imperial family or don't.
Yeah.
Because at that point, this sister, is very still bought into Valya's grand plans.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I noted it, and also was like, "Yeah, I see it. I see
Yeah.
this fitting into a scheme."
Mhm. It's really interesting, like, I Ashley said today when we watched this episode, she said, "I like this show more than the movies." I'm like, "Wow. Well, you like the
Mhm.
movies quite a lot, so that's pretty
Yeah.
good." And she really does
Mhm.
like the politicking of it, the plans within
I do
plans, the,
too.
minutia, because the Dune movies have to encapsulate a very large scale sort of epic thing. This we get to deal with, like, intricacies,
Mhm.
and, it's fun seeing and makes for a conversation, like, being double layered when you know that this person is a double agent or is someone that,
Mhm.
the person they're conversing with doesn't know that they have these other allegiance or whatever. So,
Yes.
yeah. Oh, it's if we didn't know she was a sister, this line would come out like, "Wow, okay." But knowing she is like, "Yeah, okay, I guess I see why you're saying that," type of thing, or
Mhm.
it just makes it interesting. Makes the
Yes.
relationship kind of interesting, and it's really kind of demoralizing for the rebellion that it's
Yes.
just sort of managed in this weird way.
Yes.
Um, yeah. It's yeah. They bring up imprinting, which I thought was interesting, because we get the introduction of a new sister. We get the introduction
Yes,
of
so good.
the ex-wife of the,
Yes, and
emperor.
the
Mhm.
mother of the
Of Constantine.
kids, which, yeah, well, and both of them, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, okay, I'm not su I wasn't sure. I was actually wondering that if it was both
I
kids.
I mean, I feel like it is, just now knowing, like, who Constantine's mother is, and, like, knowing her ethnicity, I may be stereotyping, I may be judging visually. I apologize if that's the case, but I feel like it is. I feel like Francesca's the mother of them both, even if she is
Sure,
concentrating right now on Constantine, because that's,
sure.
like, the direction that Volley is like, "We need to go here and manipulate
Yeah.
here."
Isn't that crazy? Again, the
'Cause Nez is
depths.
Nez is
It's
already there. Do you know what I mean? She's already wants to join the sisterhood. She's
yeah,
already like, we need to speak the truth about House Carino, and, the cover up they're doing and the protection of Desmond Hart. So I really feel like Constantine is the next building block. So,
yeah. Yeah, if you're watching the perfect timing of the imagery here of Constantine coming
Yeah.
up, he sort of apologized to his sister for not like being there in the moment and the lance rod, which
Dude,
was
he really annoyed
uh
me these last 2 episodes. I gotta say, like, for
yeah,
someone who I really admired, for telling the story about, like, him
protecting
sacrificing
his sister.
himself and, like, protecting his sister and, like,
Yeah.
yeah, that whole, like, kidnapping story where he was just like, "I can't save her, so I'm gonna be with her, and I'll just be there," and
Yeah.
yeah, these last couple episodes where he was just like he let her down, in the sense of, like, she was gonna say, like, "I know what our father's doing, I'm gonna say it to the Lansrod," and he was gonna show up with her and then didn't because he didn't wanna betray his dad, who's a dick. Um, that
But
yeah, that sucks.
that's a
It
normal
sucks.
child thing, he's looking for the
Right,
approval,
I
the
get it,
of
I get
parental
it.
approval.
I do. It's hard because I get that on one level, and on the other, like, you are disappointing either the sister who, like, loves you, believes in you, and, like,
Yeah,
is connected to
it's
you,
true.
or you're disappointing the dick of a father who's never believed in you. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I get wanting to, be with a parent, but, like, if the other swing on the pendulum is disappointing your sister who's been there for you, dude, you gotta pick your sister.
Yeah.
Um, so that was hard for me, and then also, when he shows up to the lesson with, Atreides and is just
Yeah.
sad, and Atreides is like, "Man the fuck up," and then his response is getting drunk. It's like, "Ugh, dude,
Yeah.
so many
Yeah.
people are telling you to grow up, and you just can't do it."
Yep.
So, yeah.
But then we see, probably like
Yes.
people don't get to this place for no reason, and so his mother comes in and is telling his father, like the emperor, like encourage him, be there
Yes.
for him, do that
Right.
sort of, he
Right.
he
You
doesn't
were
get
you
to
were
the
not all
point.
that impressive as a boy either,
Right. Yeah.
which I did
Hmm.
love.
So it's really kind of it again, it shows the depth of the, where they really have to work on some of the acolyte
Right.
sisters and their loyalty commitment to the cause. Like,
Right.
not so for these more veteran sisters, because it's like, I'm going to manipulate my son into, whatever to make sure that, and then my ex-husband, the father of my son,
Right.
to kind of maneuver him into a
Right.
greater position of power. And yeah, it's like messed up. It's messed up.
Yeah. Yeah, this was a fun little episode to have, like, an ex come back and be very aware of her, like, machinations and, her push and pull, her hold over the emperor, which I mean, the second she walked into a room, Mark Strong did a great job of conveying, like, this is my son
Hey,
here.
woman. Yeah.
You
Oh,
know, this is well, no, I mean, this is very much like, my axis, this is my tether, this is, I'm gonna demonstrate imprinting for you. So, we
yeah.
were very aware, I think, from the moment she walked into a room that, like, whatever direction she pushed him into, like, he was gonna follow. And,
Yeah.
that was going to set off a chain reaction in terms of, um, the empress, the queen, I forget kind of what title she is bestowed, um, was she was going to react to this in a negative fashion. It was just like, how is she gonna do it?
Yeah. I thought it was, if I wanna be, critiquey about something, it's like, was it a little too obvious, because I definitely read it immediately. I mean, I get that they
Oh, yeah,
want
we
us
all
to see it,
did.
but first Desmond gets his new outfit. I'm like, "Yeah, I do actually like that outfit. That's a sweet outfit." I commented on it as he got it. It's like, "Oh, it looks cool."
Yeah,
And then
looks
immediately the
beautiful.
Empress is like, "Oh, you were made for that outfit, by the way, Desmond." Wink.
There was a
It's
lot
it
of, like, very obvious reading in this
yeah,
episode.
I'm like, okay." Is it like they're gonna have a thing together? Ashley and I immediately both picked up on that, and
Yeah.
then, then the emperor's ex comes in, and it's immediate like, "Oh, okay, well, he's still very into her," and he and the empress don't really have a great relationship,
Right.
so I was just wondering if maybe it was a little like the takes they took were a little too on the nose for me to
They
read versus
they
it could have
were.
been like yeah, it could have been like when I look back, I see the way that they looked at
Yeah.
each other, but not in the moment. So,
Yeah. They were a
mm,
little on the nose.
yeah,
But I mean, they set it up. We all knew where it was going. It's sort of fine, because in the case of the emperor, I was like, he obviously doesn't like I've never felt like this strong love for his wife,
right.
or his current wife. So I sort of was like, that's fine. This kind of sort of provides a backstory. This sets up for his kids. It makes sense. Um, and for the Empress and Desmond Hart, it really sets me up for a next episode to say, okay, Desmond Hart's been all about I serve the Imperium, I serve the Emperor.
Right.
How is this vow going to
Exactly. That's what I
conflict
thought.
with the Queen? Is like, let's have a little
Yeah,
schmexy time.
"Hey, it's
Yeah.
maybe I serve the empress now."
Right. So I'm very so I was kind of okay with it being on the nose because it serves up some character context and background in the case of the emperor, and then also, um yeah, like, where are we
Yeah.
going with Desmond Hart and who is he serving really? Like, what's gonna happen here?
Well, so my headphone's gonna die, so I'm gonna
Oh, sure,
switch
sure, sure.
over and make sure that I got this, going right. But, um, say something, see if I can make sure I can hear you.
Mexi time.
Wow, you're so clear now. Holy buckets. Damn, your voice is, like, in my brain. Um, well, so part of what I was wondering then is because we're revealed that he has a personal element to this. At first, it's like, oh, he's like sent here by Shai Halud. He's like been swallowed
Mhm.
by the sandworm. It's like it feels like a holy mission almost or something. But it's like now we find out he's the child, the thrown away child of the second in command of the sisterhood.
Mhm.
Is his mission so righteous or is it
Yeah.
more of a vendetta? And
Yeah.
so does he really serve the good of the Imperium? Or is it like, no, I just want to take down the sisterhood?
Mhm. Which is
So
which is a question I've had, since the beginning, is very much like, for how long has he wanted this goal of taking on the sisterhood? Like, I feel like that's been
yeah.
very clear that he's wanted to take them down, and it's just like, when did that start
Why?
and how? And why?
Hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what is it? What is
Hmm.
the thing? What is the drive?
Yep.
Um, yeah.
So
So I
we've
feel
got the
like
drive
this.
now. It's just, is it
Yes,
something
y
more than that? Like yet?
exactly. Yep. Mhm.
Hmm. Let's see. Oh, I just a few other notes I wrote down. I wrote down there was a very good acting change by the Lila actress.
Yes.
Uh,
Very
because to
nice.
go between herself and Dorothea was a really nice, she did a good job handling that, I thought. Let's see. I wrote that I like her top leather boob separator. That was a good comment there. It's the
Oh, the Freeman sister.
yeah,
Fremen
yeah,
sister.
yep.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the virus, we found out about that, how we're dispersing the
Yes.
virus because okay, so it's one thing that if that's how you somehow infect someone, like,
Yes.
some sort of device or something that's maybe implanted in you. I don't know. but how do you do it then across the vast distance of space, different
Yeah.
planets at the same time?
Yes. Yeah, that was very interesting to me, and, like, yeah, is this the power of, like, Shai Hulud here, you know? Or is
Mhm.
this, like, or is there, like, a mysticism about that, but then there's, like, a practical explanation? I'm really
Yeah.
curious to find out.
It's it Dune is a really interesting, like, mix of that, like,
Yes,
science plus mysticism. I think that's,
agreed.
kinda separates it a bit, and it's more mysticism than I originally thought. It
Yes.
took me a minute to actually be, like, okay with that.
Mhm.
I thought it was, like, more scientific, but they use some, yeah. So it's kind of humanity embrace. So, if there's anything else about these episodes you wanna talk about, let's go for it. But otherwise, just as a general thing, what do you think about, you know, this idea, the premise of, like, giving up thinking machines and, like, people mastering the best of human ability, trying to, in a sense, evolve us, whatever, to make up for where we're now lacking in computers and stuff.
Sure.
So you have the Mentat school, which is like we are
Sure.
basically human calculators. We just
Mhm.
like our minds are able to pick up a lot of data and process a lot of data, and they train to do that. You have the
Mhm.
sisterhood that's really sort of about like, you know, gut checks and like, reading people and the sort of in between play of how people respond or whatever.
Mhm.
And then um I guess you have the spacing guild, which is like perfects space travel or something. But like
Mhm.
really those two things for sure is what I know of for how they people have tried to advance themselves, their mind and their bodies. Or
Sure. Well, I mean, I feel like you're pointing out kind of very, like, practical things as well, but part of Dune is also like this, and I've wondered about this for so long in this season of Dune prophecy, and it's still really not explained. But we have an element of evolution that's mysticism as well in the voice. Like, Valia has it. Mother Raquella says this is evolution, but we don't get anything about how or why, in response to what. Is this a gene? Is this we don't get any right now logical, practical explanations for this element of evolution.
right.
So that's what I think is particularly interesting about Dune right now. We have, like you were pointing out, these very, like, we are advancing human society through X. I'm a human calculator. I can figure out this physics of space, time, travel. Now I have a voice. I have a thing that can make people do what I want. What is
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
And the only explanation we're given so far is this is the next stage of human evolution. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think to me, uh it all serves as an interesting way to like delve into whatever issues Frank Herbert wants to discuss and
Yeah.
not particularly practical and like evolution never works the way people think it does. People are like, "Oh, well, why does an animal have this thing? Why did they have it?" Whatever. It's like, well, it's not purpose driven in the sense that it's like, well, yeah, it would
Always.
work. It would work. Yeah, well, it's not like it would work better if it was this way. So why isn't it that way? It's like, well, they weren't dying out because it's the way it is. So it didn't change to the more optimal way.
Sure.
Like you don't just life doesn't just become the optimal version of itself. It just
Sure.
becomes the least likely to die version of itself,
Well, I mean, yes-ish. I feel like it's
except through
more like,
selective breeding.
I feel like it's reactionary. Like this thing happened, so we did this to
Yeah,
cope with X. Not
it's not a
necessarily like
choice.
optimal. Well, no, not as, but I'm just saying it's not necessarily the optimal, but it's not necessarily like you know, suboptimal. It's like evolved because X thing happened and we evolved in the best we could moment. You know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say?
It
Like, this
it's
is our best solution at the time. It's not
yeah,
that this
right.
is, like, the best solution overall,
Right. It's the
but
ones that lived. The ones that lived
right.
reproduced, and the ones
Like,
so then their genes are
like,
passed on.
right, adapted to X factor in the
Yeah.
moment in, like, the most expedient way
Mhm,
to solve that immediate problem.
mhm. So
Yeah.
something earlier Alan said, AKA eugenics. So, I mean, yeah, that's
I mean, yes.
so it's sort of like I mean, obviously, that's what the sisterhood is trying to do is, like but that's not what, like, the mentats are doing, to my understanding. They're not like, "Well,
And
these people
that's not what the voice is. The voice isn't
right, that
eugenics.
just appeared, right, that just came out of
Something.
Valia. Right.
Yeah.
Um,
It's very so the second they said that this was, like, evolution, I was very much thinking, like, but, like, it's X-Men, but it's unexplained. Do you know what
mhm,
I mean?
right.
Like,
Yeah.
it's genetic, they're very much like, this is an evolution of humankind, but X-Men has, like we have, mutant gene X that we
We
can
found
point
the
to that,
gene,
like
yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
and so, like, I'm still sort of waiting for what is the voice?
So here's the question, do you need an explanation? Because part of,
I
like,
do.
where oh, you do? Okay. Because part of it to me was, like, with Star Wars, where they kind of went wrong with the prequels was we tried to explain the Force. We said, "Oh, midichlorians." We made it scientific. We
Yes,
took what was mystical
but
and
that's the force.
spiritual right.
Evolution to me isn't a force. Do you know what I mean? Evolution to me immediately signals science. So then I
Mm,
do need an explanation. If you said like, some other weird space, the spice interacted in our bodies even. Cool. I don't know.
okay.
Spice is
Yeah.
like a thing I
They do
don't
take a
really
lot of drugs,
understand.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't really understand it. So even I guess maybe if that was like a form of evolution and they said it's due to spice, maybe I would be chill with it and just sort of accept it. But when you said evolution, that to me said like we can pinpoint
Hmm,
a gene like mutants in X-Men to
interesting.
explain this.
Maybe
Well,
evolution
so
is
that's why
used
I
in a
need
less specific sense here, you know?
and
It's
sure,
like,
but then I need that like, whatever throwaway line you have about you know what I mean?
I don't think you're gonna get it.
I need just a little bit more. I either need the throwaway line about evolution, like you said, where it's just like a thing, or I need, the thinking machine that the sisterhood has evaluated Valia and found gene blah blah
Hmm.
blah that she's going to share with other people in the sisterhood because eventually it passes down the line to Paul Atreides. So I need something here.
So interesting. So maybe so the suggestion would be that the voice isn't a learned thing. It is something
Genetic.
that has is genetic, and they will then
Shula has it, and she passed it on to the Atreides line because 'cause she's got an Atreides son,
right. And so then the
and
sisterhood
it's maybe
uses that knowledge to continue
yep.
to but then that would make a lot of sisters. Cause how many? Because I feel like it's taught, I don't know. I feel like it's a thing that, like,
See, aren't you wondering now? Like,
I've
you're because 'cause
always
you're like, "Oh, I
accepted it
feel like
as
it's taught."
taught. Like,
But
it's like it's possible for anyone, if they
sure,
undergo the training.
which Dune makes, clear the movies.
Mhm.
It's very taught, but, like, here it's evolution. So what is it? Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Don't you want just, like, a little bit more to say what it's about so that you can accept the evolution versus taught?
Kind of just I've kind of just went with, reading the book, I'm like, okay, 10,000 years in the future, going without computers, people have worked to, it's always sort of the myth before that we're only using a fraction of our brain's ability,
Mhm.
whatever. And so just kind of going along with that sort of line of thought, like that we could unlock a lot more things if we're less reliant upon other
And
things as a crutch.
but,
And I
like,
just sort of like, okay, with that general thing, we're just going with it.
I would go with that if they didn't say in here, evolution.
Okay, which word did they say this specifically? I don't
I'll
remember.
find it. I'll find it. But they said it.
What it was in this last episode though, you think? Or
No, it wasn't in
was in
4,
episode 4
it was
somewhere?
in yeah, it wasn't in 5, it was in either 3 or 4.
Yeah, I did see you take a note on it somewhere. Um, Guards, dream sequence. Was it all the way back in then? Swear I saw you take a note about it. Um, I'm really interested to know more about the voice. You said from episode 3. Was it then? Really interested to know more about the voice? Just getting drips and dribbles here.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
it was
so the
episode
voice is just evolution. So yeah, that's you're right. So the voice is just evolution. Episode 3.
yeah.
Um, well, it's a great episode, and maybe I'll have to like comb through it again, or because they didn't mention that in the. Pretty sure I listened to the podcast about it. Didn't mention it. Hmm.
Yeah, I feel like I wanna know, just a
It's a
little bit
shit.
more to just connect a little bit more dots. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wanna hear the line. I wanna hear how it's said, what they're talking about, because I don't want you hung up on this evolution bit.
But I wanna know. Because I wanna
Yeah.
make the connection between, like, it's an evolution thing, post the machine wars and,
Mhm.
Mother Rakella being like, "This is," I think it's like a Mother Rakella thing where she's, like, saying about the next step of humans, but then, like, it's taught through the sisterhood.
Yeah.
Because clearly Valia is the originator,
Yeah.
but it's
Right.
like a hallmark of the sisterhood, and it's so common by the time we get to the Dune movies and, Paul Atreides that it's
Mhm.
it's a sisterhood thing. So
Because maybe
what
someone
happened?
always someone always discovers a new way of thinking or whatever, but that's not evolution. So, like, in a literal sense.
Mhm,
But that's mean like evolution. If you look up probably the definitions, there being different ones, like literal biological evolution, and then
mhm,
also just change and advancement or whatever. You know,
mhm,
so you can talk about the evolution of society, and it's not like literal. I mean, but it is. Yeah, that would be my guess in the
mhm.
but I'd like to see what context it was set in. Yeah.
Interesting.
Are you combing through the episode?
I am. So and I'm reading some Dune lore, which is saying that, like, Mother Dorothea is the first, sorry, excuse me, Mother Rakella is the first to use it, and, like, Valia actually hones it, which, like, Dune prophecy obviously,
Kind of.
shifts a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Hmm. Well, don't read spoilers.
I'm definitely being careful about what I'm reading here.
Okay. Well, maybe it's something that will be addressed further on here. It would be interesting more to know like what sort of, if any, eugenics type things or
Mhm.
pushing of human evolution the sisterhood does amongst themselves.
Yes.
Because obviously they're trying to line up, kings and queens and emperors and all this sort of thing to like for
Right.
the you know line up the best course of for human history or whatever, but for mankind. But
Mhm.
how about themselves? How much do they? do there. So, okay. Anything else we've left unturned?
I don't think so right now.
I am very interested to see what this final episode is, and if we indeed wrap it all up, or if we set up a season two.
Yes, yes, we should, I think, go into, just to touch on, the final bits of episode 5. We do find out that both Atreides and Desmond Hart find a connection of the sisterhood to the rebellion. Both have or have not
Yeah,
proof,
correct.
maybe.
Yes. Hmm.
You know, Desmond Hart finds this Fremen sister's habit, but it burns up in the, explosion of the nightclub that we've all become accustomed to. Atreides sees her using the knife, but
Yep.
then is taken himself as a conspirator,
Yeah.
kind of side effect of Constantine being promoted to lead the
Mhm.
attack fleet. So, is his word gonna be of any value if he says, like, "Hey, the sisterhood's involved," because he's a conspirator too, but then the emperor's daughter is like, "Maybe you're working for a better Imperium, so I trust you?" Question mark.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so there's a good setup there as well that I'm interested to see resolved in the final episode.
Yeah. Yeah. With Inez and the tradies here, that is interesting. Again, I call out the line of like, well, you didn't really have the chance to prove yourself because it was sort of
Mhm.
taken away from you.
Yeah.
Um, but and then um I also was like with Constantine, it's like, wow, what a reward you're sent to live out your life on Arrakis. I mean, based on Dune having it was like, I'm not sure that's the great reward, but
Right.
yeah.
And how are you protecting your sister by,
Yeah, exactly. Your purpose is to protect your sister. You're gonna be across the solar system or whatever. Yeah.
I know.
I don't
I
know.
mean, like, it's all within the sisterhood's plan, and he did sort of protect her because he, said, like, "Hey, this is the Atreides, and they're betraying you, but also, like, now I'm gonna
Yeah,
leave you."
right.
Eh.
Mhm.
So,
Yep. A lot to resolve and,
yes, exactly.
figure out.
Again, why I'm fairly certain a season 2 is forthcoming.
Well, I hope so. I hope the show's doing well. I really
Yeah,
haven't even heard anybody talking about it. That's not necessarily an indication of anything. It's just whatever I've heard. But I'd be interested to look up some of the like ratings for it
yeah.
because I hope it's doing well. I'm enjoying the show a lot. I think it's well
Let's
put
see.
together, and I just I don't want them to be planning for 3 seasons and no one's watching, so it gets axed after one. Um, then we end up with a Raised by Wolves thing, and Thomas Vimmel can really become
Sure.
having a he can be a start having a show curse.
It looks like it's sitting at a 70 to 75% out of 100, or a 3.6 out of 5.
Yeah, but are people watching it? That's the question. I
Yes,
think
I mean,
I
obviously
think in
viewership, I can't tell quite as easily, but yes, I mean, generally reviews seem positive.
Mhm.
So I'm hopeful, I can't
So we're Raised by
Google.
Wolves, I'm pretty sure.
I know. But I do think this is a little bit more accessible than Raised by Wolves.
Yeah. I mean,
This is a
it's a
little
more of a
less.
known entity, and
Yeah.
it is
The
less
mythology
out
is a
there for
little less
sure.
confusing, a little less out there. There's no, like, creepy snake thing that flew off
Yep.
into the air.
Flying sneak
I
that's,
love
yeah,
you, Raised
having
by
a
Wolves, but also
human
that was a little
child or
odd.
something that's yeah. Mhm.
Yes. So yeah, so I feel like this is a better odds of success here. I mean, Raised by Wolves got a season 2. Let's get a season 2 for
Yeah.
Dune.
Yep. Yep. Good call. Alright. Well, we had, we had a hearty discussion about
Mhm.
Dune Prophecy 3 through 5,
Mhm.
and
An
got into
unexpected discussion
unexpected
about
Bond discussion.
yeah.
Yep. So that's always good. And yeah. So if you enjoyed it, or even if you didn't, make sure you like, share, subscribe, all those sorts of things. Leave comments; that'd be appreciated. If you really want to support us, make sure you check out our Spotify. You can support us there, and that will you know I would buy Andrea a new router, or if nothing else,
So fancy.
it pays for our Restream thing. Restream now supports direct streaming to TikTok. So technically through Restream, I made us a TikTok account.
Ooh,
God
check
help
us
us.
out.
No, I don't. Well, we get it within a day. We should get approval or whatever to
Sure.
stream on there or whatever. So we have one more available platform we can stream on. That makes five with our current plan or whatever at consecutively. So TikTok, why not? It's there. I would probably just get our live streams. So Alan says until they ban TikTok.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen, but yeah, if they
We'll
do,
see.
but
See.
yeah. I thought we were past that. I thought that was a discussion that was had and then was sort of
Oh, it's
past.
back. It's
But
back.
it's back. Okay, well,
Yeah.
we'll find out, I guess. I'll be surprised, but we'll see. Um, that'd be hilarious if we're able to stream on TikTok for one show and then that's it. Oh, our dreams
Uh,
dashed.
right.
So, yeah. But, yeah, otherwise, we appreciate you being here. Next week, I'm thinking next week we could finally make an anime episode, Ohio
Yeah.
Anime, and do a Don to Don because episode 12, which is the season finale, of Don to Don is
Mhm.
out,
Yep.
and we can just talk about Don to Don, and that's a whole bunch of new, like, dates announced for sequel projects and new seasons and all
Mhm.
that sort of thing we can bring up or whatever. And then, yeah, we have one episode left of Dune. So anytime we can talk about that too, because that should be out
Yep.
now. And we'll wrap that up. So yeah. I don't want to be out of the Dune space. I'm not gonna be because I got a lot of books to read. But I want to show you one thing before we leave here.
Ooh, please. I love show and tell.
Yeah, so I have the trilogy, the first trilogy of Dune books that's sitting back here, the box for it. That's what that is. And then I've got some of the movie books or whatever. But, look at this.
Cheer oh,
So here is Duncan Idaho
I
figure.
know, I was gonna say, it's Momoa himself.
Yeah. It's
There you
quite a
go.
nice figure.
It is, it's very detailed.
Yeah. Basically there was like this, I don't know, holiday sale or whatever at the official Dune shop.
Mhm,
Like Legacy Movies or whatever has a Dune
mhm.
shop. And this was super on sale. And I actually, when I was looking at I was like, I'm really into Dune thing. I would like a Dune figure. Who would I like? There's a couple people I think I was like, Duncan Idaho is cool, or
Such a good character.
um, I'm blanking on his name at the moment, but Javier Bardem's character, um,
Oh, the leader of the Fremen, yeah. Um,
Stilgar. Thank you, Alan. Yeah, I was
yes,
like
thank you.
him. That would be cool. He's awesome. So, but yeah, Duncan Idaho was super on sale. So I'm like, absolutely, let's do it. He's very detailed and nice. He'll be downstairs on the display soon, just after Christmas when the Christmas stuff's away.
Excellent. That is a wonderful show and tell, well worth it.
Yeah. I'm a nerd. Yes. I was like, I have a lot of anime lady figures. I don't need to have all anime ladies here and stuff. So we could
Yes.
have Duncan Idaho stud around here too. So
They put that on his resume.
yeah,
Duncan Idaho stud.
yeah. Perfect. Okay. Alan told us if we go 3 more minutes, we'll make it to 2.5 hours. Which I think it's been a while since you had a 2.5 hour episode, probably. You're just trying
Yeah.
to keep it tight. So this is our 45 seconds. This is our holiday. I mean, it's gonna be Christmas next. After when we see each other next time, will it be the new year?
No, not if we do a episode next
Not to do an
Sunday.
anime one? Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
But
maybe we
but
get
on
one
the
more in
regular
for
pod, it will be.
yeah, so okay, well, we got a long episode for, the final Popcast on the Rocks of 2024.
Yes.
Soon is going to be, 5 years. We've been doing this for 5 years.
Have we
It's gonna be
really?
5 years. We started
Oh
we
god.
started in early 2020.
Did we really?
We did.
Oh
We
god.
started
Oh,
we
John.
discussed in late 2019 about doing a podcast, and we started in early 2020
We
before, a
did.
few months
God,
before
we
everything
did.
all went crazy and shut down and stuff like that,
Yes.
and then so, yeah, we've been doing this
John,
steady for almost 5 years.
we should definitely figure out a in-person to celebrate 5 or something monumental to celebrate 5 years because wow.
Yeah.
I
How
mean,
many look, they say
this
everybody
is
has a podcast, but how many of them make it 5 years?
I was just gonna say, like, this is something when we started, I was so excited about, and I really thought, we would do it for a while, but, like,
Mhm.
5 years, I am impressed with us.
Yeah. Like, we're not,
5
we
years
have
plus
our
kids,
lives.
small
We have
kids.
right, we have
That's
kids, we have
really
stuff or
important. Like,
whatever. So we don't sit here and
that's
we don't
major.
do, like, all kinds of videos and shorts, and, like, we don't do the thing that
Yes.
if you wanna make it big, but this is a way that
It's
the 3 of
consistent.
us are able to stay connected and keep up on some different things, and, yeah, most podcasts, like, they die, you
Yeah,
know? They're around
and this is
for maybe a year or something, so
this has definitely, like, pushed some of my horizons too, like, especially when we were doing, like, daisy chain movies in the beginning of the year, and there were some things that I'd never seen before, even, as a millennial that I should have, like Armageddon.
yeah.
It's just been, like, really fun to just be like, new things that I wanna see that, this pushes me to actually commit to, or old things that, you know, I should have seen. And
Yep,
now I have a very convenient excuse to go back to, so I love
yep. And I can only talk at Ashley for so long about certain
it.
things or whatever, so it's like,
You're
yeah.
welcome,
Mhm.
Ashley.
Yeah, right. Alan types in the comments, "A Knight's Tale," so, yeah, we get to revisit what
Yes!
apparently is a
You're gonna
must-see
love
classic
Mark
band.
Addy. You're gonna love him. You're also gonna love Paul Bettany. I mean, you're gonna love Heath Ledger. I mean, you're gonna love a lot of things, but, like,
Okay.
I just from this episode, I know you're gonna love Mark Addy. Paul Bettany is a treasure.
Yeah,
It's just
always good.
it's bad good fun.
Okay, alright.
And I
I'll
have
get a
I have a special
drink and some
funny
popcorn, some
story to
Delta 8.
share about it when we talk about it. It's gonna be great.
Okay, nice. All right. Well, that's everything to look forward to, guys. Look forward to our 5 year anniversary. And yeah, we'll see everybody next time. Andrea, thanks again for joining me.
Of course, as always, for the final time in 2024, cheers.
Cheers.